in Konoha. At first, I annihilated the Sarutobi clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326. Kanai defeated the second pillar Akage again. Fujiwara Chiya. Deru helped Z, who was paralyzed by the illusion of the two pillars, up and whispered. He was afraid that the other party would chop him down like last time. What? At this moment, all the samurai were shocked. Is this the Fujiwara Chiya who slaughtered the Sarutobi and Shimura clans, killed the 4th generation Akatsuki, and played with the Konoha high-level officials and Orochimaru? He has been in the ninja world and has never been defeated since his debut. He came up from the stairs. There were hundreds of samurai guarding the 4 floors below. How did he get in? Why was there no movement? Don't talk about them. Even the ninjas, including the Akage, were horrified. It's not fear of death. It's the body's instinct when facing a strong person. Of course, some people smiled. Damn. My resistance to lightning escape is too poor. I can't even complete liquefaction. But it seems that I don't have to die here with Sasuke today. Shuai looked at Chiya, who came and smiled with difficulty. If it was a little later, he would be in danger. At this time, the clothes of the second pillar were stained with blood, and there were blood stains on his mouth, nose, and eyes. He was in the first form of Susanu's skeleton, and his pair of 6-pointed manjaki stared coldly at Kanai. Second pillar, you are really as reckless as ever. You went to compete with the Akage in lightning escape, and you must have been beaten badly. Kanai met his gaze and laughed teasingly. He knew that at this moment, the second pillar was at the darkest period of his temperament. He had killed people with bloodshot eyes. He became indistinguishable from friends and foes. Not to mention Kanai, who had caused him to be done something by Orochimaru. Hey, Z, that Uchiha's eyes have changed. Deru noticed the changes in the second pillar and whispered. This is the Manjaki Sharingan. Z swallowed his saliva. A Manjaki is already very difficult to deal with, and now there is an absurdly strong monster. Deru wanted to retreat for the first time. Impossible. Maybe things will turn around. Z shook his head. He had sensed that the other 4 shadows were rushing towards this. If the 5 cages join forces, he doesn't believe that Fujiwara Chiya can be their opponent. And that Uchiha seems to have great hostility towards Fujiwara Chiya. Sure enough, next, the actions of the second pillar verified his guess. The sky cleared up, the rain stopped, and the second pillar, who opened Susanu, felt that he was fine again. Facing Chiya's preaching, the second pillar's left eye suddenly burst into bloodshot, and his pupil locked on Chiya, began to focus, and shed blood and tears. You really don't remember? Second pillar. Kanai turned sideways, and in the horrified eyes of everyone, a ball of black flame flew over the original position, and burned on the stone pillar. An even more shocking scene appeared. Kanai walked slowly towards the second pillar. During this period, the second pillar kept releasing Amaterasu, but every time, Kanai just turned sideways, predicted in advance, and easily dodged. For a moment, everyone present thought that they could dodge it. Unfortunately, no one dared to try. They knew that, once this thing was contaminated, they would die. Is this the true strength of Fujiwara Chiya? He was able to dodge the Amaterasu sent by Uchiha through his side so easily. Z's pupils trembled, and he was stunned. Susanoo. Flame escape. Kagutsuchi. Seeing that Amaterasu was useless, the frosty-faced Najira finally panicked, and tears of blood flowed from his right eye. Susanoo was activated to the second state, controlling the black flames of Amaterasu to form a layer of black flame shield on the surface of Susanoo. Chiya stopped 1 meter away from the black flame shield. Have you completely lost your mind? Stop talking nonsense. Whether it's you or the 5 cage, you must die today. Najira looked around. His eyes swept over the Akage and others, and finally fell on Chiya. I'll start with you. While speaking, Susanoo swung an arrow and chopped at Chiya. Boom. A flash of knife light passed by, and no one could see what Chiya did. The arrow of Susanoo instantly shattered, and lavender debris and smoke flew. It seems that I need to wake you up. Kanai's other hand, which was not holding the knife, slowly stretched out, and whispered, "Armament color, internal destruction." After the voice fell, no one could figure out what happened. With a puff, the black flame shield dissipated, and Susanoo disintegrated. Sasuke, who was inside, was like a filial son before his death. He grabbed his collar with his left hand, covered his mouth with his right hand, and suddenly knelt on the ground, and coughed up blood. His body spasmed a few times, and he fell to the ground and gasped. Hiss! The sound of sucking cold air rang out in the field. The Uchiha who captured the 8-tailed killer bee and opened the main Juki Sharingan was defeated like this? It's too dramatic. Is your brain clearer now? Kanai smiled and looked down at Ursuzi lying on the ground, and raised the blade to block the sudden attack of the Raikage. Just rushing over like this, don't you want to die? Lord Raikage, don't be impulsive. The other 4 shadows are rushing here. Z's voice came from a distance. Stop talking nonsense. Raikage roared at Z, and clenched his right fist that was blocked by Kanai's Zanpakuto. Asshole, I can't forgive you. I absolutely can't forgive you. Raikage's hair stood up, and a huge amount of lightning attribute chakra burst out from his body. The lightning chakra mode reached its limit. The ground cracked instantly when the two of them joined. Raikage, that yellow-haired guy is right. You should wait for the other 4 shadows to come. Kanai maintained his previous movements. His face was normal, his demeanor was calm, and his right hand was slightly raised. Raikage, be careful. Z, who had just witnessed Sasuke's miserable end, was shocked and hurriedly warned him. He didn't think that his own Raikage's armor was harder than Susanoo. Danger. Without Z's reminder, Raikage had already moved. His figure flashed, and he suddenly retreated, pulling away from Kanai by several feet. However, his lightning body was fast, and Kanai was even faster. By the time Raikage reacted, Kanai had already arrived in front of him. What when? Cold sweat flowed from the Raikage's brows. He looked down at Kanai, who was holding his Zanpakuto, and felt that the latter's figure, which was not as tall as him, was infinitely enlarged. At this moment, he felt how insignificant he was in the eyes of the other party. A complete defeat in the field of speed that he was best at. Hado 90, Black Coffin. Kanai murmured, and put his index and middle fingers together, and a small black ball appeared above the sword finger. At the same time, 4 black walls appeared, merging with each other, instantly wrapping the Raikage, and locking him in. Everyone was shocked. What kind of ninjutsu is this? A black cube. While the samurai and the Raikage guards were distracted by Kanai, Sujetsu, the only one of the 3 members of the Eagle team who was still able to move, took the opportunity to save J-Gyo and Sasuke. He warned Sasuke, this guy's really as strong as ever. I'm afraid that the Raikage has been killed. Sasuke, don't try to challenge him again. If you try again, you will really die. Sasuke did not answer, but stared at the black coffin. Kanai turned around slowly, the black light shattered, countless tiny holes appeared on the body of the Raikage, blood escaped, and blood mist was drawn in the air. Is this guy so strong? He killed the Raikage with 1 strike. The leg shadow Kuratsuchi, who had just arrived, and was hiding in the dark to watch the battle, was surprised and happy. She thought Sasuke would have a fierce battle with the Raikage. Unexpectedly, Sasuke turned around, and ran to attack Kanai, and was killed in seconds. Then the Raikage attacked Kanai by surprise, and was also killed in seconds. Chapter 327 Humble Kumogakya, Goodbye Gaara. Lord Raikage. Z and Eru's eyes widened. Z wanted to go forward to rescue, but before he could take a step, he was paralyzed by the illusion, and fell to the ground. Don't worry, I avoided the vital points, and the Raikage is not dead. This time I came here, just because someone asked me to come here, to intimidate the 5 major countries and test the strength of the 5 contemporary shadows. After all, the next battle is a fight between gods. Kanai turned and looked at the unconscious Raikage, thinking to himself, it seems that compared to Landan, I'm still far behind. The black coffin, that completely abandoned the chanting, has only exerted less than 1/10 of its power. Deru helped Z up again, and stared at Kanai in the distance. Z, calm down. The illusion that Uchiha planted on you is still effective, and even Lord Raikage was easily defeated. If you go up rashly, you will die. Although I'm very unwilling, For the safety of you and Lord Drakeage, we should wait for the four shadows of fire, earth, water, and wind to come to reinforce. Damn it. Z shook off Deru's hand, knelt on the ground, punched the ground with his right fist, and his face was full of unwillingness. At this time, Gaara's three siblings, who left the meeting room first after the Raikage, finally arrived. What on earth happened? Kankuro looked at the black flame still burning on the building, then looked at Sasuke who was standing in front of him with the help of Sujetsu, and finally his eyes fell on the most conspicuous Chiya wearing a red cloud and black robe, and the Raikage under his feet. The Raikage was killed. Was it this monster who did it? Temari's voice trembled beside Kankuro, and Chiyo's grandmother's advice once again emerged in his mind. Never try to fight with Fujiwara Chiya. Run as far as possible. Kanjuro also wanted to retreat. He said to Gaara hesitantly, Gaara, we. Gaara crossed his arms, ignored Kanjuro, took a few steps forward, and answered with his actions, you samurai, retreat. This is a battle between ninjas. You samurai don't need to sacrifice for this. The samurai on the lower 4 floors are all under illusion. You'd better move them out as soon as possible, otherwise the next battle is likely to affect them. Thank you, Master Kazekage. The samurai cast grateful eyes at Gaara and rushed to the lower 4 floors. The middle school boy who was full of hatred at the beginning has finally grown up. Gaara, no, the 5th Kazekage. Kyanai grabbed the Raikage's hair and turned to look at Gaara. You bastard, let go of Master Raikage. Z shouted. And Deru's face was also gloomy and terrible. Yellow hair, and the black guy with side bangs over there. I have already given you one chance. It stands to reason that you can't have a second chance, but seeing that there are so many acquaintances here today, I decided to give you another chance. Just like last time, kneel down. I will spare the life of Raikage-sama. Kyanai raised his right hand diagonally above his head, and the Raikage's body flew into the air. As soon as these words came out, a stone struck 1,000 waves. The scene suddenly became quiet. Even those who had not yet left the cloud-hidden village stopped and looked back. They didn't expect that the Raikage and his 2 guards had already fought with Kyanai, and they saved their lives by kneeling. No wonder the Raikage hated Kyanai so much. In this way, the person who left the scar on his back is self-evident. Damn it. Deru and Z looked at each other. Although this would make the cloud-hidden village lose its prestige in the 5 major countries, for the life of Raikage-sama, they didn't care so much. With a plop, the 2 knelt down. That's right. Kyanai casually threw the Raikage to them. Deru sighed. The situation was stronger than the person. He suppressed his anger, flew to catch the Raikage, brought him to Z, and said urgently, Z, treat the Raikage quickly. I know. Z hurriedly released the palm fairy technique. Next it's your turn. Kyanai turned his eyes to Gaara's 3 siblings, except for the time when the one tail was sealed. This should be the second time we have officially met. Kyanai's face was still wrapped in a spring breeze smile, coupled with his handsome face. It is easy for people to have a good impression, but none of the ninjas and samurai present dared to regard him as a good person. I guess so. Gaara nodded and urged the samurai to leave. What are you still doing here? Leave quickly. After the samurai left, Gaara looked at Kyanai's slender figure and recalled the scene in the Forest of Death when Naruto persuaded Kyanai to return to Konoha, and a touch of heartache flashed across his eyes. Chiya's eyes. It's as if he is looking at everything around him from another world. Has he fallen to this extent? Out of friendship for Naruto, Gaara spoke up, trying to save Chiya and Sasuke from the darkness. Fujiwara Chiya, I know something about your past. Both your parents died when you were young, but you never blamed others until you were framed by the Konoha high-level officials and fell into darkness to protect the people you cherished, thus ruling out Konoha. Take revenge as the food of life, which will not solve any problems. I've experienced all of this. You still have time now. Don't be swallowed by hatred, or you won't be able to come back. And the same goes for Sasuke over there. Sasuke sneered and didn't answer. Kyanai smiled with interest. Nezuzi and Naruto are good friends who have kissed each other, and Naruto is your only friend who saved you from the so-called darkness. I understand that you want to win back Naruto, but are you really trying to persuade me? The rumors outside that your father, the 4th Kazekage, died in my hands are not groundless. I guess Kenpachiro must have seen the fragments of your father's puppet when he picked up the scorpion puppet. I gave the corpse to Scorpion. Let me tell you the truth. At the beginning, Orochimaru planned to kill your father, replace him, enter Konoha, and launch the Konoha collapse plan. In order to prevent me from ruining his plan, he took out several forbidden techniques and tried to bribe me, but I didn't ask for forbidden techniques. I only made one request, that is, to hand over the fourth Kazekage to my companions. As for why my companions wanted to kill your father, that's a long story. Scorch release Yi Kang, the former hero of Sand Village. I'm sure you should be familiar with him. If she hadn't taken the initiative to give up the position of Mizukage, I'm afraid your father wouldn't have been the fourth Kazekage. She was just like me. She was betrayed and persecuted by the upper echelons of her own village. At that time, in order to sign a peace treaty with Kirigakure, Tsunagakure agreed to a request from Kirigakure's elder master. That was to hand over Yi Kang, who had repeatedly defeated Kirigakure in the Third Shinobi World War. Your father is the same type of person as the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. He is even more extreme than him. In order to consolidate his position as the Kazekage, he agreed without hesitation. Akatsuki took a fancy to Yi Kang's ability and thought she was suitable to be my partner, so he took action and rescued her from the dense Kyuubi and Shuriken sneak attack that was like raindrops. In order to avenge your father, Yi Kang proposed to Akatsuki to avenge your father. I respect my companions very much. After Orochimaru asked your father out, he stabbed him and seriously injured him, and then handed him over to Yi Kang. Yi Kang gave your father the same fate as her, splitting into dozens of shadow clones and throwing hundreds of kunai and shurikens in succession. Chapter 328, The 5 Cage Gather. Yes, that kid Alyosha was stabbed like a hedgehog by kunai and shurikens. After hearing Kainai's words, the desperate figure of the fourth Kazekage before his death emerged in everyone's mind. The feeling of being seriously injured, with hundreds of kunai and shurikens aimed at the back, and unable to escape, like being caught by a cat. How desperate it is. Arsehole. With a roar, Kanjiro took out a scroll with the word for written on it. With a bang, the smoke dissipated, and a puppet that looked like Alyosha came into everyone's sight. The puppet spit out gold dust from its mouth, which turned into countless egg-sized raindrops, and under Kanjiro's control, covered Kainai. This is exactly the magnetic escape technique of the fourth Kazekage Alyosha, the gold dust rain. You actually recovered the fourth Kazekage puppet that Scorpion played with. You really deserve to be the biggest scavenger in the ninja world. Kainai pursed his lips and smiled, standing in place, with a calm expression, calm and composed, without dodging or avoiding. When the sand bullet was about to approach, a sand wall suddenly rose in front of Kainai, resisting the attack of the sand bullet. This was Gaara's move. Gaara, you. Kankuro looked at Gaara in confusion. Temari frowned and said, Kankuro, you are too impulsive. Have you forgotten what Grandma Chiyo told you? But he is the enemy who killed our father. Kankuro's face turned pale. He clenched his fists tightly, and cold sweat suddenly broke out on his hands. Fortunately, he recalled carefully that, if Gaara hadn't stopped his sand gold grenade just now, with the opponent's means, I'm afraid that I would probably die on the spot. At worst, I would end up like the Raikage. He didn't think he had the strong defense of the Raikage. Hatred can't solve any problems. The sand escape slowly melted and poured into the gourd behind Gaara. He took a step forward and tried to pull Kainai out of the darkness again. Kainai, you still have a chance to turn back. Turning back. Kainai was amused by Gaara's naivety, but he was not angry. Gaara, although your words are naive, this naivety is more to my taste than foxes like Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo, and Rasa. Then I'll tell you a secret about you. Gaara was stunned. Secret? I have always liked to collect and develop ninjutsu, which is also the source of my strength. Although your father, as the 4th generation Kazekage, is not very powerful, his magnetic escape technique is still worth mentioning. Kainai crossed his arms. He put his Zanpakuto into the system warehouse and began to talk nonsense seriously. So I used illusion to torture your father before he died. In the mind of that old guy Rasa, I saw his past. I won't say more about some of the dirty things, it's disgusting. Let's talk about you. Your dead father sent your uncle Yashamaru to assassinate you in order to judge whether you can control Shukaku with your emotions. And let your uncle lie that he never loved you. He did this just to avenge his sister, your mother, and lied to you that your mother hated you too, in order to destroy your love and longing for your mother. How could this happen? Gaara's eyes widened, his voice trembled, and his breathing was rapid. The calmness on his face had long disappeared, replaced by regret. There was even a moment of anger, which was towards Rasa. Kankuro and Temari also looked at Gaara, revealing a worried look. They haven't seen Gaara like this for a long time. The last time he was like this was before he became the Kazekage. What do you think? It's ridiculous, isn't it? In order to judge his son's so-called value, he self-righteously lets his wife's brother assassinate his own son, thus causing him to lose his life in vain. Kayanai clicked his tongue and said, "This is what you call the fourth Kazekage? How can a guy who doesn't even love his own son love Tsunagakia? He's just a rat in the sewer, just like Sarutobi, Hiruzen and Dinzo." Hearing this, Gaara half lowered his head, his eyes covered by shadows, and big tears rolled down from the corners of his eyes. After a while, he suddenly laughed and asked, "Does that mean my uncle and my mother love me?" What a fresh train of thought. Kanai smiled and said, "Yes, that's right. Not only that, your so-called absolute defense of sand is not innate, nor does it come from Shukaku, but is the residual power of your mother's love for her child. The reason why your damn father is so perverted and repeatedly kills you may also be because Carola died because of Dystosha giving birth to you. That coward blamed you for his wife's death." "Really? Thank you for telling me this." Gaara wiped away his tears, and his eyes regained their determination. "Then it's time to act." Kanai took out his Zanpakuto again. "We've been delayed for so long. The illusions of the samurai downstairs have almost been lifted, and they've all retreated. The third Tsuchikage, Ryan Tsubo Inoki, the fifth Hokage, Tsunade, the fifth Mizukage, Meditarumi, and the Admiral of the Land of Iron, Mifune. It's time for your guards to show up, too. And the Raikage, well, he can't seem to get up, but he should be conscious now. I've been watching the leg shadow for a long time. Come out, all of you." As soon as the words fell, more than a dozen black shadows, including the leg shadow Kurotsuchi who had already arrived and was hiding in the dark, divided into 4 camps and flashed around Gaara and his siblings. The smoke and dust dissipated, revealing from left to right the 5 figures of Mifune, Inoki, Gaara, Meditarumi, and Tsunade, with a total of 12 guards standing behind them. After being healed, the Raikage, who was thick-skinned and tough, also stood up with the help of Nozomi and Eru, walked to Tsunade's side. As soon as the 5 Kage appeared, Sujetsu took the injured Sasuke and Jeijio and hid behind Chihaya and was directly scared to pee. The ground was wet, and there were signs of liquefaction everywhere on the body contour. Oh my god. These are the 5 Kage. And the general of the Iron Country. A Raikage is so powerful. With the 5 Kage, can Chihaya really withstand it? Slip away, are they finally showing up? Chihaya's eyes swept across the people on the opposite side, and finally landed on Chihaya, smiling and saying, "There are really quite a few old friends. I won't mention Gaara's 3 siblings and the unlucky Kumoga kneeling trio, Inoki's granddaughter, the leg shadow Kurotsuchi, the ice escape Haku, the 5th generation Mizukage Meditarumi, Hatake Kakashi, the 5th generation Hokage Tsunade, and my good apprentice Chihaya. It seems that everyone is here." As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the people whose names he called out were different. The leg shadow and the Mizukage were full of shame and anger. Haku and Tsunade were worried. Kakashi, who had already opened his left eye protection, was solemn. As for Chinatsu, she was so happy to finally see her father, and she didn't feel nervous at all. Chapter 329, that Tsuchikage who was frightened. Of course, Fujiwara Chiya, Akatsuki are arresting Jinchuriki everywhere, destroying the peace of the ninja world. Today, the 5 Kage are here to arrest you. Of course, the Uchiha brat over there, don't even think about escaping. Inoki spoke first, with his arms folded, his body floating in the air, his shoulders parallel to Tsunade, Meditarumi and others, his old face proud. "And our samurai." Mifune also stood up, Fujiwara Chiya, you let those samurai down. I'm very grateful, but Uchiha Sasuke behind you killed a lot of people from our own country this time. Don't even think about leaving. As soon as Mifune said this, Sujetsu, who was running away, quickened his pace. Now that Chiya was watching, if he didn't hide now, when would he hide? Destroy the peace of the ninja world? Chiya didn't care about Sujetsu's movements and drew a sword flower in his hand. When he confirmed that everyone's eyes were on the Zanpakuto, he silently chanted shatter it. Mirror flower Sujetsu in his heart. He spread his hands and said sarcastically, has the ninja world ever been peaceful? The first ninja world war, the second ninja world war, and the third ninja world war. Even without Akatsuki, has the ninja world ever been peaceful? If the only country that can be considered peaceful is the neutral country of Iron Country, which is quite powerful and has no ninjas, the reason is still this sick ninja world system. Ninjas do not produce, but get paid by completing tasks to maintain the development of ninja villages. And tasks mean unrest. If there is no unrest, no one will spend money to hire ninjas, and wars will follow. Unoki, just like when Uchiha Madara asked you and the second Tsuchikage to kneel down and submit to Konoha. Before Kainai could finish his words, the old man who was stabbed in pain put his hands together and opened a cube-shaped transparent barrier between his palms, covering Kainai. Dust release, realm peeling technique. Kainai smiled, opened his knife-holding hand, and took the initiative. In the horrified eyes of everyone present, it was also a cube-shaped transparent barrier. However, Inoki used two hands, while Chiya used one. The two barriers collided, accompanied by endless light and heat, and a violent explosion occurred. In order not to hurt their companions, both sides restrained the power of their dust release. Even so, everything between the two was separated into atoms. A huge gap was blown open in the entire building from top to bottom, a total of 7 floors. Snow and wind poured down. The temperature of the originally warm building dropped sharply, adding a hint of coldness. This is dust release. Inoki was old after all. Even though Chiya used a dust release of the same power as his, the latter was still shocked by the impact of the explosion and retreated several meters. He relied on Akagi to block behind him and barely stabilized his body. Kainai smiled and said, of course it's dust release. After all, you know that I'm a person who is obsessed with ninjutsu and pursues power. How could I not try this kind of bloodline elimination with powerful attack power? Asshole, let me ask you, where did you learn it from? Inoki's voice trembled. He knew that Kainai could use the powerful 5-element escape technique at will, and the properties and changes of the 5 chakras were derived to the extreme. Even if the 5 chakra properties were combined in pairs and several bloodline limits were studied, he would not be too surprised. But dust release is different. This is bloodline elimination. An existence of a higher level than bloodline limits. It is formed by the fusion of the 3 nature changes of wind, earth, and fire. It is the crystallization of the hard work of several generations of Iwagakure, since the first generation of Tsuchikage. No matter how talented Kainai is, if he really combines the 3 nature changes of wind, earth, and fire, he will never be able to complete this technique without knowing the practice method. And this technique is passed down by word of mouth by successive generations of Tsuchikage and successors, and it is impossible for outsiders to learn it. Could it be that the other party has a copy that is more powerful than the Sharingan, and learned it just by looking at it? If that's the case, it's too scary. Inoki looked at Kainai across from him, sweating coldly. This is a long story. Kainai said something that was so infuriating. If you give me the super weighted rock and the weighted rock, maybe I can consider answering your question. I'm quite interested in these 2 earth escape ninjutsu that can increase or decrease the weight of an object. Without waiting for Inoki to answer, Kurotsuchi beside him got angry, clenched his fists and cursed. What are you talking about, you bastard? It's not enough to steal the dust escape, but you shamelessly ask for the weighted rock and the light weighted rock. Leg shadow. Oh no, Kurotsuchi, you're not being honest again. Kainai stared at Kurotsuchi. Don't call me leg shadow, I'll give you one last chance. What am I? Facing Kainai's gaze, Kurotsuchi's tone couldn't help but weaken a bit, and his body instinctively retreated and hid behind the Tsuchikage, like a frightened kitten. This made the two girls, Meditarumi and Tsunade, frown. Did something happen between them? Okay, I won't say any more nonsense. One of the 5 cages was crippled by me, and the old man with the strongest attack power was scared to death by me. There is only one young Kazakage and 2 beautiful women left. To be honest, I really can't bear to attack you. Even if I win, it won't be very meaningful. Kainai made a symbolic seal with his right hand, and a stone chair appeared on the ground. He crossed his legs, and sat on it. With his right hand holding his cheek, he looked at the people opposite and said, "White Zetsu, your spore technique is no longer useful. Come out and call off a." Oh no, our beloved Lord Madara. Doesn't he have something to say? The people of the 5 nations and the Iron Nation were suddenly shocked. Madara, isn't this a precaution? Who knew you were so strong? As for Afei, I have already notified him with my clone. The previously dead White Zetsu crawled out from beside Kainai. The one who died before was just a clone. Now that Kainai is here, it doesn't have to worry about the safety of its original body. Except for Tsunade, Chinatsu, Meditarumi, and Haku, the rest of the people had swellings similar to White Zetsu on their bodies, covering the whole body of the possessed person. Ah, what is this? Kurotsuchi was the first to scream. The rest of the people who were wrapped up also looked ugly, and each used their strengths to get rid of the White Zetsu clone. Then killed. At the same time, where Naruto stayed, Obito was trapped by Yamato would release. Under the siege of Team 8 and Team Gay, as well as Karin and Sakura, he calmly chatted with Naruto. The topic was nothing more than the 2 sons of the 6 Paths Sage who inherited the Sage body and Sage eyes, and Sasuke and the extermination of the Uchiha clan. When he was talking about the Moon Eye plan, the White Zetsu clone arrived. Afei. No, Lord Madara, it's time over there. Obito's eyes still didn't move away from Naruto. What's the situation over there? Sasuke failed. He actually tried to challenge Kainai with the second form of Susanoo, but was easily defeated. Kainai didn't kill him. White Zetsu said, Kainai's strength is stronger than imagined. The Raikage was easily killed by Kainai's newly developed ninjutsu again, and that Suchikage's dust release couldn't do anything to Kainai, because Kainai has already learned dust release. Now the 5 cage have been scared by Kainai, and dare not act rashly. Haha. Chapter 330 Kainai vs. 5 cage. You even mastered dust release. A strange color flashed in Obito's eyes, and then he pretended to be mysterious, and sneered at Naruto. Naruto, I heard it. These are the 2 people you have been looking for. One is wanted by the 5 major countries, and caused a big disturbance in the 5 cage summit, and the other simply killed the Raikage. You are the one who inherited the will of fire. From you, I see the shadow of the first generation of Hokage, and Sasuke is destined to go to darkness. So you will have a battle. Don't be prepared, I will force you to fight. Asshole Madara, Sasuke is not your toy. Brother Kainai is not your tool for revenge. With a roar, Naruto rolled out a sword and hit Obito, but unfortunately with the ability of hollowing, even if Obito's information has been exposed, Naruto cannot attack him. Instead, he went directly through his body and fell to the ground. No, Naruto, I said something wrong. Obito shook his head. Sasuke is my plaything, but Chiya is not my tool. Strictly speaking, we are in a cooperative relationship. Cooperation? Everyone in Konoha was stunned and looked at each other. Yes, cooperation. Obito recalled the past, when Chiya talked to him, and what he said when he first met Pain. He nodded slightly, and the lower half of the mask was covered by the shadow. Chiya and I are people who have seen through the essence of the ninja world very early. As long as this ninja system exists, hatred will continue. That's why I implemented the Moon Eye plan. Yamato frowned and asked, so, what is your Moon Eye plan? Obito was silent for a while, and said, I need to talk about this in a bigger occasion. So, goodbye. After that, the space in Obito's right eye distorted. The White Zetsu clone also slowly merged into the ground. Asshole, wait for me. Naruto wanted to stop Obito. Unfortunately, Obito ignored him. In the end, only Naruto, who was unwilling to give up, and the worried Konoha people were left kneeling on the ground. At the same time, in the 5 cage meeting building, hearing that the legendary Uchiha Madara was coming, the scene suddenly became quiet. An abrupt voice sounded. Everyone, the ninja world has reached a life and death moment. I fought with Uchiha Madara when I was young. Hokage, I'll leave the injury of the Raikage in your hands. You must not let Fujiwara Chiya go. Once Uchiha Madara arrives, the two will join forces. Everyone will be finished. Mizukage, Kazukage, please hold him back first. Kuratsuchi, you take the Hokage's daughter and the little girl named Bei and hide aside first. This battle for the ninja world is not something you young people should participate in. Everyone else, come closer. That Sachikage spoke. Among the crowd, only he and Uchiha Madara had actually fought. He knew how terrifying Uchiha Madara was. He immediately issued the order to fight. After hearing the name Madara, the others also anticipated the seriousness of the matter. In the face of the legendary Shura of the ninja world, they briefly put aside their prejudices. They looked at each other, and except for Kakashi from Konoha who did not execute the order, because Tsunade did not nod, everyone else did their job. Tsunade-sama, what about us? Kakashi looked at Chiya who was still sitting calmly on the stone chair opposite, and asked hesitantly. Tsunade naturally refused, and Chihiro standing aside said something that puzzled Kakashi. Mom, let Kakashi go, if there is nothing wrong. Chiya said that he wanted to test the strength of the current ninja world, and he should not kill him. Tsunade rolled her eyes at Chihiro, and said to Kakashi solemnly, be careful, we are not at the point of a life and death struggle with him. I know. Kakashi said, moving closer to that Sachikage. Tsunade did not need to remind him, because of Naruto, Kakashi would not kill Chiya, and would choose to capture him. Of course, he knew that, whether it was the former or the latter, even with the 5 cage here, it would be difficult to subdue Chiya. Hokage-sama, I'll leave you to Raikage-sama. Deruanzi carried the injured Raikage, and appeared in front of Tsunade, asking respectfully, please, Hokage. Raikage also lowered his proud head for a rare time. He knew that it was impossible to save his little brother by relying on Kyuubi alone. Tsunade sighed helplessly, performed the palm fairy technique, and began to treat Raikage. At the same time, Mizukage Terumimei, who had been holding back for a long time, took the lead in attacking Kanai. Dissolving style, dissolving monster technique. The extremely sticky and corrosive acid spit out from Terumimei's mouth like a tide, instantly covering the sunlight, and forming a huge shadow in the building, covering the area where Kanai was. She had long wanted to capture Kanai, tie up his 5 limbs, and hang him up to beat him. She had no chance to beat him in the past, but this time, with the 5 cage joining forces, she would not miss it. Kanai sat on a stone chair, holding his chin with his left hand, crossing his legs, without any intention of dodging. This gave White Zetsu a big shock, and he quickly retreated into the ground. Success. Gaara was floating in the air on a ball of sand. No, it wasn't. This man is not that easy to kill. Terumimei shook her head. She and Kanai are old rivals. Almost all tricks are useless to the latter. Besides, it is true that she wants to catch this man who has raped her, but she doesn't want to kill him. She just wants to turn the tables one day, to avenge the old grudge. As soon as Terumimei finished speaking, the large piece of acid that fell on the opposite side began to wriggle, and condensed into a human shape. The acid disappeared, and turned into Kanai's figure. You are old, and you still try sneak attacks. Look, you have wrinkled my Akatsuki robe. Asshole, who are you talking about being old? Terumimei's face twitched violently, and a hash mark appeared on her forehead. She shouted in her heart, I'm still young, okay? Since I became the Mizukage, and wore that ring, my appearance has not changed for 6 or 7 years. I'm talking about you. Kanai made a symbolic seal with both hands. Gaara's face rose. Knowing Kanai's strength, he didn't dare to give him a chance to perform ninjutsu. With a grab of his right hand, the tentacles of sand stretched out from under Kanai's feet, wrapped around his arms, and instantly wrapped him up, and then surrounded him in 3 layers inside and outside. However, before he could make the next move, with a puff, a large branch about 10 feet thick rose from the ground, breaking through the sand layer and acid and growing rapidly. Then dozens or hundreds of large branches of the same thickness burst out from the ground, covering the entire building in the blink of an eye. From the outside, the 5 cage summit building seemed to be pierced by a huge tree, and it continued to expand. It seemed that this giant tower-like building was about to burst. At the critical moment, Inoki clapped his hands. He consumed a huge amount of chakra and used the dust release original realm stripping technique that was enough to cover the unformed forest, turning the forest into dust and the entire building. The huge building was cut off alive, leaving only one layer, and a violent explosion occurred. What is that? Mizuki, who had just escaped from the building with Najiro and Jeijio, heard the noise and looked back. He was so frightened that he stood there in a daze. The injured Jeijio and Sasuke, as well as the samurai who had evacuated the building in advance, were also in a similar state, staring blankly. Just now, they first saw the building covered by countless large branches as thick as water tanks, and then a violent explosion occurred. An explosion that was enough to make a perceptive ninja dizzy, and the largest building in the Iron Kingdom was gone. Damn it, he even mastered wood release. Inoki cursed in his heart. The scene was already a mess, except for Tsunade and her daughter Anshiro, who were secretly protected by Chiya with wood release in advance. Everyone else was affected. Meditarumi was slightly better, and was wrapped by Gaara with sand release, and the two were not injured. The rest of the people were miserable. They had no time to protect themselves, and were blown all over the sky by the wind, pressure of dust release. In the end, they were buried in the gap between the rubble and the wooden stakes left by the sea of trees. It was quite embarrassing. As for Inoki himself, due to his old age and excessive consumption of chakra, he actually fell to his knees on the giant tree stump cut by the dust release, sweating profusely and breathing heavily. "Old man, how are you?" Akagi rushed out of the ruins and hurried forward to support him. At this time, Inoki's hair bun had been scattered, revealing a bald head, and the red cloth exclusive to that Tsuchikage had flown away to who knows where. There were countless wounds of all sizes on his body, revealing a torn green striped vest. It looked very much like the embarrassed look when he fought against Madara in the original work. "I'm fine." With the support of Akagi, Inoki got up with difficulty and stared at the front. How could it be? How could this young man be so strong? Not only the dust release, but also the wood release. And the move that was previously immune to the water shadow's dissolution release. As expected, the dissolution release was also mastered. How could one person master so many powerful bloodlines at the same time? Inoki shouted in his heart. "Pa." A swelling sound was heard, and Kainai emerged from a giant branch, looking down from above. As expected of that Tsuchikage, you are still as skilled as ever, and you can actually block this tree world descent. But you are not the only one who can use dust release, and you won't be able to resist the next move. Kainai put his hands together and opened a cube-shaped transparent barrier between his palms, imprisoning everyone except Tsunade's mother and daughter and Haku in the barrier. Those who were affected by the wind, pressure generated by dust release, just rushed out of the ruins and had not figured out what was going on, but saw themselves wrapped in a huge transparent barrier and looked at Inoki one by one. The Raikage, who was also blown away by the wind, pressure of the dust release, and barely regained a little mobility after Tsunade's treatment, rushed out of the ruins, looked at that Tsuchikage, and asked a question that even he himself did not believe. "Inoki, did you create this barrier to defend against Fujiwara Chiya's attack? How is it possible? I don't have so much chakra to create such a huge dust release." Inoki collapsed on the ground with a bitter smile. He knew the power of dust release very well. The moment everyone was enveloped by Chiya in dust release, it was over. The scene suddenly fell into silence. No one thought that they would die in this 5-cage talks. Especially Terumi Mei. She had always loved and hated Chiya, but now she was ashamed. A trace of sadness appeared on his beautiful face. No wonder he hadn't come to see me for more than a year. Could it be that what he said when he forced me was all false? Just when Terumi was completely desperate, Kainai's voice sounded again. "Why don't you just keep quiet like this? I've said that when Uchiha Madara comes, he has something to say to you. You forced me to take action. How are you now? You are in a desperate situation. Well, don't say that I don't give you a chance. I, Kain, have always been kind to women and never kill women, especially beautiful women." Kainai looked at the Mizukage with a playful and amusing look. "The Mizukage over there, you can go out. Me." Terumi pointed at herself in disbelief and was a little at a loss for a moment. Her cheeks were flushed, and even her neck was stained with a layer of pink. Of course, besides you, are there any beauties in this barrier? Kainai looked up and down at the Mizukage with his eyes unscrupulously. When this was said, everyone in the barrier looked at each other. It is said that every member of the Akatsuki organization has this unique quirk. Deidara likes explosions, Kakuzu likes to exchange money, Sasori likes, and Chiya likes beauty, which is the least valued by ninjas. Flirting everywhere. Could it be that Chiya, Fujiwara and Mizukage suddenly made everyone have some thoughts in their minds? Looking closely at the Mizukage's appearance, his face was red, which was indeed very suspicious. But soon, they changed their minds. Terumi Mei was suddenly delighted. Is he praising himself? Then she looked around, and after seeing that there were only 2 women in the barrier, she and Kuratsuchi, her temper suddenly came up. Good guy, it turns out that you sent Tsunade and her daughter out a long time ago, and even Haku is not in the barrier. The temper came up instantly. In the annoyance of the white-eyed killer Ao and of the other village ninjas, he raised his finger and pointed at Kainai, saying in a serious tone, I'm sorry, as the Mizukage, Kirigakure will never retreat in the face of battle or beg for mercy. The leg shadow Kuratsuchi also had a temper. She stood beside Terumi Mei and roared, and the same goes for our Iwagakure. She was originally on the verge of despair, but the fear in her eyes disappeared, replaced by shame and anger, and she was just about to shout out the words, isn't I a beauty? Seeing that the 2 beauties were going to die bravely, Kakashi, who had been in the dark as a shadow clone, searched for a long time, but couldn't find Tsunade and her daughter. Kakashi finally couldn't bear it anymore. At this moment, he didn't care about Naruto's feelings. Decided to take action. If Kainai killed the 5 Kage and the generals of the Iron Country, the ninja world would immediately be in chaos. Just as he wanted to release the power of God continuously and break the dust escape barrier, Tsunade suddenly rushed out from behind Kainai and punched Kainai. Kainai was unable to dodge and was punched away, and the barrier collapsed. The cages, guards, and samurai were so moved that they almost cried, Hokage-sama. Even the Raikage was no exception. He added the word sama like Terumi, which was rare. Only Terumi, who vaguely guessed something, felt uncomfortable. A sense of jealousy quietly filled her heart. Good guy. With his strength, he couldn't dodge this level of sneak attack. He was fooling the devil. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331, Kainai's Weakness. It's the end of the month. Please vote for me. Above the 5 Kage summit building, the sky was still filled with heavy snow, and the area below was in ruins. What on earth happened? Obito, who had just arrived, was shocked when he saw the endless wooden stakes. There was no mistake, this was wood release, and it was not an ordinary wood release. The power was far beyond the ability of him and Yamato, who were half-baked in wood release. It was Chiya. I don't know where he learned wood release from. Just like the first Hokage, he forced the 5 Kage into a desperate situation in an instant. A green pitcher plant emerged from beside Obito, and then opened, revealing the figure of White Zetsu. So what's the situation now? Obito asked in a deep voice. I don't know. After the wood release was blocked by the third Tsuchikage's dust release, Kainai used a dust release with a larger range, which enveloped the ninjas and martial spirits of the 5 great nations. I didn't dare to get too close. Once I was hit by a dangerous move like dust release, even I would die. At this point, White Zetsu seemed to have thought of something, and said meaningfully, it seems that Kakashi is also in there. Boring. Obito glanced at White Zetsu, and in an instant, he quickly rushed to the center of the ruins. We are saved. The dust release barrier disappeared, and the ninjas who were in danger all breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. The samurai were so scared that they fell to the ground. They sucked in the fresh air in big gulps, sighing at the beauty of being alive. The ninjas of the 5 great nations jumped to the tree trunk, where the Hokage was. Kakashi asked hesitantly, Hokage-sama, just now. He wanted to ask how Tsunade concealed Kainai's perception, which might be a key point to defeat the latter. The others also cast curious eyes. It is no secret that Kainai has extraordinary perception. Everyone is very curious about how Tsunade got behind Kainai without being noticed. Chinatsu used Chidori to pierce through the wood barrier that protected them and appeared beside Tsunade with Bei, saying, "It's very simple, that is, this special perception will have a short delay during the performance of ninjutsu. Once the duration of ninjutsu exceeds 1 minute, there will be a 5-second vacuum period, during which there is no perception ability." 5 seconds? Everyone looked at each other. Their faces became more and more ugly. How many people in this world can allow Kainai to release ninjutsu continuously for more than 1 minute? If Kainai had not been in a special situation just now, with a move of dust release, I'm afraid that everyone would be instantly wiped out. Papapa, just as everyone was struggling, a burst of applause suddenly rang out from a taller tree stump not far away. "You are worthy of being my good apprentice. You can find the weakness of this technique. You have not embarrassed me." Kainai appeared in front of them with his back to the sun. At this time, Kainai's Akatsuki robe had been completely torn, revealing a tight black combat suit and a Zanpakuto on his waist. Everyone in the field was shocked and looked as if they were facing a great enemy. Tsunade's super powerful punches were well known in the ninja world, but Kainai was unscathed except for his torn clothes. Of course. After all, my talent is better than yours. If I am given enough time to grow, sooner or later, I will be able to surpass you. Kyangsha winked at Kainai with her right eye playfully. The father and daughter understood and began to act. "Then I look forward to your day." Kainai's smile faded and his eyes turned to the side. "You really made a lot of noise, Kainai." The space was distorted and Obito jumped out of the kami space with his arms folded and landed beside Kainai. "I guess so. Although the current 5K are not very good, there are still some excellent ninjas in the 5 major countries. It's not in vain." Kainai stood aside and watched Obito pretending to be cool. "Is that so?" Obito nodded, turned his gaze to the embarrassed people of the 5 nations and the Iron Nation below, and began to introduce himself. "My name is Uchiha Madara. I have something to tell you. After you understand, I have something to ask you." "What?" The Raikage, supported by Deru, was seriously injured, but his vigor remained undiminished. He glanced at Kainai excitedly and stared at Obito. "My goal, the Moon Eye Project." Obito opened his right eye, revealing a scarlet Sharingan, and chuckled. "You are worthy of being the Raikage for being able to survive Kainai's hands." "Asshole." The Raikage was furious. Regardless of his serious injuries, he forcibly activated the lightning chakra mode, and the lightning instantly appeared in front of Obito and smashed his head. Boom. Kainai easily caught the Raikage's fist. He clamped the Raikage's armored wrist with one hand, and with a little force, the armor broke instantly, revealing a dark and thick wrist. "Damn it." The Raikage's voice trembled. At this moment, he only felt his elbow burning, and couldn't move forward. "Listen to him first. I'll accompany you anytime you want to fight later, but you have to be prepared to let the 5th Raikage take over. I won't let you go for the 3rd time, even if you kneel down to me again." After saying that, Kainai threw the Raikage back like throwing garbage. Deru and Z flew to catch it and plowed the ground. Finally, Kakashi stepped forward to catch it and pressed his palms on their backs to stop his body. Thank you. Thank you." Deru and Z turned around to thank Kakashi. The latter nodded and returned to Tsunade. Sachikage advised, "Raikage, for the time being, it's okay to listen to what the masked man who calls himself Uchiha Madara has to say." Seeing Chiya taking action, Obito looked at the former with some surprise and continued, "Raikage, don't be angry. Chiya is a rare genius in the ninja world. He is the 2nd person after Hashirama who has been recognized by me and has the same right to talk to me. It's not shameful to lose to him. Let's stop talking nonsense and get straight to the point." Sachikage said impatiently. "Are you finally willing to listen to me?" Obito sat cross-legged and told him about his plan for the infinite Tsukuyomi and said that the 8 Tails was on the run and asked them to hand over the 8 Tails and the 9 Tails. That's it. Use the great illusion to create a unified world without barriers and wars. This move was undoubtedly resisted by everyone. Raikage was the first to refuse out loud, saying that he would not hand over his brother. Then Gaara and Meditarumi did not recognize the false piece. Tsunade was the same. She refused without hesitation and said that she would never hand over Naruto. At the same time, she kept her eyes on Kanai. She had to figure out why this guy was hanging out with a dangerous person like Madara. Finally, it was that Sachikage. Unifying the world. Rather than unifying the world, it's better to say that you want to create a world that belongs only to you. That Sachikage asked, Madara, since you decided to launch the Moon Eye project, why do you want to use Akatsuki? With your strength, you don't need any plans and can do it easily. P.S. It's the end of the month. Please vote for me. Recommended book The Immortal Path of Mortals. Chapter 332. Tsunade, the general of the Allied forces. Kakashi also stepped forward and raised his doubts, and when we were chasing Itachi, if you were really Uchiha Madara, you shouldn't have been so embarrassed by us. In the battle of the Valley of the End, in the battle with Hashirama, although I didn't die, I was seriously injured. Now I have no strength. Obito said the answer he had prepared long ago. Then what about Fujiwara Chiya beside you? That Sachikage turned his eyes to Chiya and asked solemnly, from the power he showed just now, dust release, wood release, speed beyond the Raikage, the power that is enough to destroy Susanoo with one blow is not much inferior to what I know about you. It should be easy for him to capture the 8 tails and the 9 tails. You can understand that I deliberately let the 8 tails and the 9 tails go. Chiya finally spoke. As soon as this was said, even Obito cast a surprised look at him. Kanai shrugged and spread his hands, looked up at the sky, and began to talk nonsense. This ninja world has been quiet for too long. No, to be precise, the ninja system has existed for too long. When I first joined Akatsuki, I had a full understanding of the strength of the members. Although everyone is a master, they are all independent and no one is willing to submit to anyone else. It is impossible for them to defeat the 5 major countries together. But if all 9-tailed beasts are gathered, then the 5 major countries will not be opponents. The reason why the 8 and 9 tails were released is to balance the power between the 5 major countries and Akatsuki. Hearing this, everyone's face showed a puzzled expression. Gaara asked, you should be a member of Akatsuki. What's the benefit of doing this for you? Good question. Then let me ask you a question, Gaara. Kanai asked back, what is the most powerful factor that unites people? Enemy. Gaara said suddenly. Kanai nodded. Yes, they are the enemies. Originally, my goal was to let the 5 major countries join forces and fight Akatsuki to a draw, and then I would personally take action to clean up the ninja world. That's about it. When these words came out, not only the cage, but even Obito was sweating. If Kanai really did this, then maybe at the critical moment, he would really be in trouble. That Sachikage frowned and asked, you are indeed very strong. Madara has lost his power, and the first Hokage is dead. Looking at the entire ninja world, no one is your opponent now, but manpower is limited after all. How can you clean up the world by yourself? So I gave up. It's too troublesome. Isn't there a way to solve the problem once and for all now? Kanai shrugged slightly. Madara's Moon Eye plan? Everyone fell silent. At this moment, an abrupt voice suddenly sounded. Kanai, I remember you once said that you killed Sarutobi and Shimura clans and joined Akatsuki in order to save Izumi. A member of Akatsuki once said that you and Izumi had a child. From what I know, you should not be the kind of person who is addicted to the virtual world, and you care about your family more than anything else. If Madara's Moon Eye plan succeeds, not only you, but also your wife and children will fall into illusions. I guess you will understand these. Why do you still do this? Kakashi stood up and tried to save Kanai for Naruto. Kanai said, that's why, in order to protect my family, the Moon Eye is more necessary. I started thinking about this problem when Danzo threatened me with Izumi. So I spent a few years creating a special space. Before the Moon Eye plan starts, I will put them in the space. Wait until the infinite moon reading is over, and then release them. By then, there will be no one who can threaten my family. After listening to Kanai's words, Kakashi recalled everything before Kanai defected. At that time, he was so loved by the people of Konoha. As a genius in the village, he was the object of admiration of many villagers and ninjas. Kakashi said sadly, Kanai, you were not such a person who would do anything to achieve your goals. You have completely fallen. Kanai took off the forehead protector with his left hand and stroked his forehead with his right hand. Don't be too arrogant, Kakashi. Not everyone is like you, willing to wag their tails and beg for mercy from the murderers of their fathers like Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. No one stands in the sky from the beginning, whether you, or me, or even the legendary Six Paths Sage, but this unbearable vacancy of the throne of heaven will soon end. At this point, Kanai combed his hair back, a strand of hair hung on his face, fixed with chakra. His face was cold, the forehead protector in his hand broke instantly, and he was domineering. From now on, I will stand at the top. At this moment, even Uchiha Madara on the side became beam, and Kanai's brilliance surpassed everyone. It's time to go. Chiya. Obito's mouth twitched fiercely under the mask. It was the first time he saw someone who loved to show off more than him. He couldn't stand it anymore. He stood up and said to the 5Kage and others while displaying Kamu, "Then, everyone, see you on the battlefield next time." Chiya put his right hand on Obito's shoulder. "Goodbye, ninjas. Goodbye, samurai. And Kakashi, tell Naruto that as a Jinchuriki, he is really quite interesting." After saying that, the two entered the Kamu space at the same time and disappeared from everyone's sight. So, what should we do next? Looking at the place where Chiya and the other disappeared, Kakashi sighed helplessly and looked at the 5Kage. Not to mention him, facing Uchiha Madara, the seven-headed beast and a Fujiwara Chiya whose strength surpassed the 5Kage. Even the cage fell into a deep sense of powerlessness. The enemy this time is more powerful than we can imagine. We can only form a ninja coalition. Gaara sighed. That's all we can do. Terumi Mei sighed softly. I agree too. That Sachikage looked at Tsunade and the Raikage. What about the Hokage and the Raikage? Needless to say, I will never hand over my brother. The Raikage said angrily. I agree too. Tsunade replied weakly, feeling very bad. Since Kanai is with the masked man, as long as the masked man is found, Kanai can be found. As long as these two people have not left the Iron Country, Chinatsu can find them. Now she just wants to take Chinatsu to find Kanai as soon as possible. Ban and Kanai's goal is not only the world of ninjas, but also our samurai, so the Iron Country will also participate in the war. Mifune stood up. Now the question is again, the choice of the general commander of the coalition forces. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at each other, and when they glanced at the Hokage, including the Raikage and at Sachikage, their eyes fell on Tsunade at the same time. It seems that everyone has a candidate in mind. Different from the original work, there is no Danzo's use of Katamatsukami to control Mifune. The Raikage was humiliated by Kanai again. Lost face in front of everyone. The Kazukage is too young, the Mizukage has no experience. That Sachikage used Akatsuki and has long lost his qualifications. In the end, the only candidate for the general commander is Tsunade, who rescued everyone from Chiya PS. Monthly ticket. Chapter 333 Tsunade's decision. No, I'm not suitable for the position of General Commander. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Tsunade refused without hesitation. Why? Everyone looked at her in surprise. It stands to reason that becoming the commander-in-chief of the coalition forces is a great honor for both the individual and the village he belongs to. No one should be able to refuse. There is something I need to confirm, something about the future of the ninja world. I think the Raikage is capable of taking on the position of general commander. As a compensation for him, Tsunade sighed in her heart and turned her eyes to Kakashi. Kakashi, the negotiation on the establishment of the ninja coalition will be left to you for the time being. If I don't return to Konoha on time in a month, let Jiraiya take over as the 6th Hokage. Chinatsu, let's go. After saying that, Tsunade's figure flashed and disappeared on the spot, followed closely by Chinatsu. What is going on? Everyone turned their eyes to Kakashi, and that Sachikage asked suspiciously, Kakashi, now that the ninja coalition is about to be formed, the Hokages doing this will easily arouse the coalition's suspicion. And there is the weakness of Fujiwara Chiya. Only the little girl named Chinatsu knows it. Without them, the coalition's chances of winning will be infinitely slim. Unoki is right. The Raikage recalled the scene of Chiya splitting thousands of shadow clones in his mind, and said solemnly, the chakra of Fujiwara Chiya is beyond imagination, even far beyond the tailed beasts. He can easily split thousands of shadow clones, and each shadow clone has a very strong combat power, far beyond the level of elite Jonin. This is still the case when the shadow clone cannot perform dust release. If we don't defeat him, even if we defeat Madara who has lost his power but has 7-tailed beasts, this war will not end. Kakashi scratched the back of his head awkwardly, and he also guessed something in his heart, although he knew the seriousness of the matter. But it was precisely because of this that Tsunade had to go. Therefore, he made a decision that was in line with the will of the first Hokage. He stood at attention and bowed 90 degrees to everyone, begging, "Please trust Hokage." Seeing Kakashi like this, everyone had nothing to say. Mifune stood up and said, "Since His Highness the Hokage recommended His Highness the Raikage, and the Hidden Cloud Village is the only one besides Konoha that still has a tailed beast, then the position of the General Commander will be handed over to His Highness the Raikage." He looked around. His Highness the Kazekage, His Highness the Tsuchikage, His Highness the Mizukage, what do you think? The Hidden Cloud Village has no objection. Gaara folded his arms and took the lead in expressing his opinion. Although the Raikage was repeatedly humiliated by Kanai, he was much more reliable than that Tsuchikage, who was famous for being an old stubborn man in the ninja world. At least the Hidden Cloud Village had never produced a member of the Akatsuki organization. Then the Mizukage also agreed. There was only one Tsuchikage left, and he knew that no one would choose him, and it was useless to oppose, so he agreed. The Raikage clenched his fists, his bones crackling, and said in a deep voice, "Leave it to me. I'm betting on the name of the Raikage in my life. I will fight Akatsuki to the end. I'll make arrangements next. First, Nozomi, form a search team, track down B as soon as possible, and then notify me as soon as possible. He won't listen to anyone but me. Then it's Kakashi and Kazekage. On the way here, I met the Ninetales Jinchuriki. Although he has a lot of guards around him, it will be very dangerous if he goes against Akatsuki. The Ninetales Jinchuriki should not have left the Iron Kingdom yet. Kazekage, you should be more familiar with the Ninetales Jinchuriki. His safety is in the hands of you and Kakashi. The rest of you, please help me find B's whereabouts." By the time the Raikage had finished his arrangements, nearly 10 minutes had passed since Tsunade left. Meditarumi said to King behind her, "King, can you still sense the Hokage's chakra now? Although it's very weak, it should be possible." The Byakugan Killer King made seals with both hands, tried to sense it, and replied, "It's at 7 o'clock. Let's go, follow it." Meditarumi said, quickening her pace, and quickly rushed towards Tsunade. "But shouldn't we go find the 8 tails first?" King followed Meditarumi, and asked in surprise. "It's not too late to find it later, and it won't take 3 of us. I have something I want to confirm with the Hokage." Meditarumi smiled and looked at Bei. "Bei, you should know why." "Yeah." Bei smiled and nodded. The two quickened their pace. "What? Wait for me." King looked helpless, looking at the two people who were about to disappear, and hurriedly followed. In the dim space of the throne, rectangular blocks of different sizes can be seen everywhere, as far as the eye can see. Suddenly, the space suddenly twisted, and 2 figures appeared in it. It was Chiya and Obito. "Is this the alternate dimension created by your main Jiki technique? It's really extraordinary. It's really an enviable ability." This was the first sentence Kanai said after arriving at the Kamu dimension. Obito didn't want to waste too much time with Kanai. "Let's talk about your next plan. First, let's hand Danzo over to the second pillar to deal with." Kanai stretched out his hand and took out Danzo, who was already tied up, from the system warehouse, and threw him in front of Obito. After more than 3 years, Danzo rebuilt himself. When he opened his eyes, he saw Obito's figure and exclaimed, "Madara, why are you here?" Obito ignored Danzo, kicked him aside casually, and continued to ask, "I'm asking about the upcoming 4th Ninja World War. You want me to help you contain the Ninja Alliance?" Kanai smiled meaningfully. Obito nodded. "That's right. Isn't this what you're pursuing as well? As long as we complete the Moon Eye project and let the whole world fall into the Great Illusion, then no one will be able to threaten the safety of you, your wife and your daughter. You said before that you considered letting Akatsuki and the Ninja Alliance fight to the point of mutual destruction, and then you can take action to clean up everything. Even Uchiha Madara and the first Hokage couldn't do such a thing completely. I guess you should have accumulated some strength. Kanai touched his chin and looked at him with interest. I have accumulated some strength, all of which are high-end combat power. But you are not threatening me, are you? No, it's just cooperation. Your goal is to create a world where no one can threaten your family, and my goal is the great illusion. If we work together, we have 2 powers, and if we separate, we have 2 disadvantages. You should be clear about this. Obito shook his head. You should have said it earlier. I thought you were going to threaten me with this different space. Kanai stepped forward and put his arm around Obito's shoulders, putting his right foot on Danzo's back. Let's go. Let's take Danzo to find Nahashi first and let him get revenge. While speaking, Kanai used Flying Thunder God and disappeared into the Kamu space with Danzo and Obito. Chapter 334. Danzo's Strange Path. A cave somewhere in the Land of Iron. Ah, I'm so tired. Sasuke, I didn't expect you to be so heavy. Sujetsu put down Sasuke, whose clothes were stained with blood, and tilted his head to look at JGO. JGO, I'll leave the vigilance work to you, and let your little animals pay more attention to the movements around them. Although the 5K are now in danger, no one can predict the outcome. I will first provide emergency treatment for Sasuke. He is really seriously injured. If he is not treated, I'm afraid he won't be able to leave the Land of Iron. Then I'll leave it to you, Sujetsu. JGO nodded and walked out of the cave. Looking at the seriously injured Sasuke, Sujetsu bandaged the wound while complaining, "That's enough. Why did you go and provoke that monster for no reason? Not only did you get injured, but you also made me lose my beheading sword." Sujetsu was startled suddenly and felt a chill on his back. He turned back stiffly, but saw Kanai stepping on the one-eyed old man, hugging Obito's shoulders, and making a brilliant appearance. "Hey, Sujetsu, we meet again." Kanai let go of Obito's shoulder with a smile, raised his hand and greeted him. Sujetsu was so shocked that he couldn't speak, taunting. Obito stood behind Kanai, and cold sweat had already seeped out of his gloved palms. It was not a reverse summoning just now, but it was undoubtedly Flying Thunder God who brought him and Danzo to the cave in an instant. If he had torn his face with him in the Kamu space, I'm afraid he would have. When did this guy Kanai learn it? Suddenly, the figure of Orochimaru appeared in Obito's mind. Was it that bastard Orochimaru who taught him? Don't worry, I'm not here to kill you. After all, Sasuke has called me father a few times. Kanai stepped on Danzo's back and smiled. Look, didn't I keep my promise to bring Danzo here? Because of the serious injury, Sasuke was groggy. When he heard the word Danzo, he immediately opened his eyes, and Obito was automatically ignored. He glanced at the one-armed old man stepped on by Kanai, and asked Kanai with difficulty, "Is this guy Danzo?" "Yes, it's him. It was him who ordered me and Uchiha Itachi to wipe out the Uchiha clan, and then let us kill each other." Kanai raised his foot and stepped on Danzo's face. "Asshole, Fujiwara Chiya, a warrior can be killed but not humiliated. I'm the leader of the Konoha root and the elder of Konoha. You used to be a Konoha ninja and once obeyed my orders. You can't do this to me." Danzo said angrily. "What's wrong with me humiliating you? Not only will I humiliate you, I will also step on you." Kanai stepped on Danzo's crotch, and the latter immediately screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Seeing this, Obito, Sujetsu, and Sasuke couldn't help but tighten their crotches, close their legs, clamp their crotches tightly, and twitch their mouths fiercely. The screams also attracted Chago, who was patrolling outside. He was stunned when he saw this scene. "Okay, Sasuke, I said I would give you and Danzo a fair duel. This place is too small, and you can't fight like this." Kainyaban squatted down and pressed his right hand on Sasuke's chest. With a burst of white light, the injuries on Najiru's body recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. In a moment, except for the loss of the pupil power of the main Gekyo, everything else returned to its peak state. Even the chakra was restored. This is. Feeling the changes in his body, Najiru stood up in disbelief. "Untie Danzo and let him come with me outside." After simply moving his hands and feet, Najiru regained his former arrogance and couldn't wait to go out and fight Danzo to the death. Kanai said, "No, because the 4th Ninja World War is about to begin. In order to let them form a coalition, I'll let the 5 Kage go." Now they are still in the territory of the Iron Country. The battle will definitely attract them. You don't want to be interfered with by the 5 cage, do you? I have a good place to go. A good place. Everyone, including Obito, showed a puzzled look. Yes, a good place. Kainai nodded, with a mysterious smile on his face. How can the death of Danzo be without that bridge? Otherwise, the title of Danzo Half-Bridge would be in vain. At the same time, Kyangsha, who was rushing on the road with Tsunade, suddenly stopped and said, "Mom, wait a minute. What? Did you find that bastard Kainai?" Tsunade landed on the tree trunk opposite Kyangsha and asked back. Kainai nodded. "Well, Dad has always been accustomed to hiding all his breath. Even my observation haki can't detect it. But just now I sensed the masked man and the chakra of Danzo who was captured by Dad." "Where?" Tsunade heard the words and asked hurriedly. "It's right at the place where the second pillar was hiding, that I told you about before." But soon, all of their chakras disappeared again. Now, Chinatsu closed her eyes and opened up her observation haki and chakra perception to the maximum. "We found them. They are now out of the Iron Country and on the bridge entering the Fire Country. But someone is following us from behind. It seems to be the Mizukage and Sister Shiro and the others." Chinatsu blinked her big eyes at Tsunade playfully, turned around and looked behind her, watching the fun without minding the trouble. "Mom, do you think it's another debt of love that Dad has caused? Before, when he performed the dust release, except for you and me, and Sister Shiro who was saved by him, it seems that the Mizukage was the only one who didn't get hurt. That bastard. It turns out that he can't change his nature, no matter where he goes." Tsunade clenched her fists and cursed in a low voice. In the end, she decided to wait for the arrival of Meditarumi and the other two. Otherwise, if they kept chasing them, it would definitely be endless. It didn't take long. After about a quarter of an hour, the figures of Meditarumi and the other two could already be seen. At a distance of about 100 meters, Meditarumi asked King to wait there, and she brought Beto, Tsunade and Chinatsu. "I wonder why the Mizukage-sama has specially followed us." Before confirming whether the other party was really involved with Kainai, Tsunade first sent a tentative message. "It's not a big deal. There is something I want to confirm with the Hokage-sama." Meditarumi did not keep the secret any longer and pulled off the necklace hidden in the blue tube top dress, on which hung a pure gold ring that was very different from Tsunade's. "Really?" Tsunade bit her lip, raised her hand to show the pure gold ring on her left ring finger, and said seriously, "You guessed right. Chinatsu is the daughter of that guy. I'm also the wife of that guy. So what do you want to do after knowing this? You should know that he has changed now, and none of us recognize him. He is doing something extremely dangerous." "Ah. Of course I know." Meditarumi nodded, and the smile on her face suddenly faded. "So, can you please help me teach that bastard a lesson, Hokage?" "I will." "Chinatsu, let's go." The two seemed to have said something, but also seemed to have said nothing. Neither of them mentioned Kainai's name, but they all knew it. Under the gaze of Meditarumi and Shiro, Chinatsu and Tsunade went to the direction of Danzo, Obito, and the two pillars chakras. PS. It's the last day, please vote for me. Chapter 335 Old 6. On the other hand, while Tsunade and Chinatsu went to look for Chiya, Kakashi and Gaara and his three siblings came to the village where Naruto, Yamato and his group were resting. Snowflakes were still floating in the sky, and Kakashi exhaled white mist and called Naruto and Yamato out separately. This is what happened. Sasuke caused a scene at the 5-cage summit and fought with the Raikage, and then Chiya appeared. For some reason, Sasuke used the same Amaterasu Black Flame and Susanu's Itachi, trying to attack Chiya, but was easily defeated. Chiya did not kill him. After that, Chiya fought with the 5-cage, and Sasuke's companions rescued him in the chaos. He may have left the Land of Iron now. At the same time, Chiya's strength is beyond imagination. He controls several bloodline limits, including wood release, and the same bloodline elimination dust release as the third Tsuchikage, and is even more powerful. Even as strong as the 5-cage, it seems that he is no match. The Raikage was easily defeated. All of us were also enveloped in the barrier created by dust release by Chiya. If it weren't for the Hokage and Chiksha seizing the gap in Chiya's perception and interrupting his ninjutsu at the critical moment, I'm afraid all of us might not have survived. In order to deal with Madara and the seven-headed beast and Chiya and other remaining members of the Akatsuki organization, the 5 major countries decided to form a coalition to protect the 8 tails and the 9 tails and fight against Akatsuki together. Kakashi told Naruto and Yamato about the 5-cage summit. Not only would release, but also bloodline elimination. Has that Fujiwara Chiya become so strong? Yamato took a deep breath and couldn't help but sigh. Then he asked, where did Hokage-sama and Shinatsu go? Kakashi glanced at Gaara's 3 siblings and kept the secret. Hokage-sama entrusted me with the task of forming a ninja coalition on behalf of Konoha and then took Shinatsu away to do something very important. This concerns the future of the ninja world. That's really tricky. Yamato sighed and turned his gaze to Naruto, and even Uchiha Madara is out. Not only Sasuke, but also Chiya, whose strength surpasses the 5-cage. How did they get together with Madara? Gaara said, perhaps just as Chiya said, all this was caused by the ninja system. As long as the ninja system exists, hatred will spread. Hatred caused Sasuke to lose his entire clan and Chiya to lose his parents. So they chose to pursue power and step into darkness. In order to unify the world and let everyone fall into a false illusion of peace, Madara chose to start a war. In order to prevent his wife and daughter from having the same ending as his parents, Chiya chose to cooperate with Madara. And Sasuke hated Konoha because he lost his clan and was determined to take revenge. Naruto, I know about the bond between you, Sasuke and Chiya. Let me tell you in advance, this is a war to protect the 8 tails and the 9 tails, and also to protect you. As the Kazekage, if Sasuke and Chiya appear on the battlefield as enemies, I will never tolerate it. At this point, Gaara walked in front of Naruto and put his left hand on his shoulder. But, as your friend, then you should do what you think is right for Sasuke and Chiya. Temari urged from the side. Gaara, since the message has been passed on and Naruto's safety has been confirmed, we should return to the village. The next war is not that simple, and soon Agakure must be prepared. Unlike Gaara, who was influenced by Naruto's mouth-to-mouth and persecuted by Rasa since childhood, Temari is not so virginal. She doesn't hate Chiya to the bone, but in terms of sensuality, except for being handsome, she is not much better. Seeing that Gaara actually cared about Chiya for Naruto, in order to comfort him, it would be strange if she was in a good mood. Okay, think about it carefully next. Gaara patted Naruto's shoulder, turned around and left with Temari and Kankuro. Naruto never said a word from beginning to end, but his pupils were dilated, and his eyes were lifeless as he half lowered his head. Yamato wanted to go forward to comfort him. Kakashi took his hand and shook his head. This kind of thing, outsiders can't help, so let him be quiet. What no one knew was that in the room behind them, Sakura had been hiding in it and eavesdropping. Her face was not much better than Naruto's. She took a deep breath and made up her mind immediately. She was going to find her dearest Sasuke. This is it. Chiya led the Hawk Squad, Danzo, Obito and others to the bridge in the original work where Danzo successfully sealed half of it with his life. It is called the Danban Bridge. Fujiwara Chiya, what do you want to do to me? Danzo shouted. Of course I'm giving you a chance to live. You see the second pillar behind me, that is, Uchiha Sasuke. The second pillar already knows all the shit you did with Sarutobi Hiruzen. He wants to kill you now, and he's going crazy. You must want to live and return to the high position of the leader of the root organization. Kill him. You can go back. Kanai stood on the round stone pillar, kicked Danzo down with one foot, put his index and middle fingers together, and dozens of chakra energy burst out and sank into Danzo's body. Under the gaze of the second pillar and Obito, Danzo's chakra assumed flowing. The puppet arm had chakra control, stretched out a sharp blade, and easily tore the rope that had tied him for 3 years. Is this a kind of advanced acupuncture technique similar to the Hyuga clan? It can easily seal the human body's chakra. Obito and Sasuke thought at the same time. It's your turn next second pillar. The mastermind who murdered your Uchiha Madara clan, Sarutobi Hiruzen, is already dead, and the other one is right in front of us. He turned his head and said with a smile, Sasuke was as cool as ever, leaping down the stone pillar and landing in front of Danzo in an extremely handsome posture. Uchiha Sasuke. It seems that I have been locked up by that guy Kanai for a long time. Looking at the murderous Sasuke in front of him, Danzo slowly released the seal on his right hand and glanced at Kanai, Obito, JGO, and Sujetsu who were watching the show on the top of the stone pillar. Whether it was Kanai or Madara, with their temperaments, they would never let me go, even if I killed Uchiha Sasuke. Next, Danzo turned his eyes to Sasuke. Just as he was thinking about how to escape after killing Sasuke, Chiya's old six-like voice sounded again above the stone pillar. Second pillar, be careful, next old dog Danzo is going to use your Uchiha family's ultimate eye technique, Eyes Energy. After activation, you can transform the fact of your own injury or death into a dream, and transform your own attack into reality. Duration, with the ability of this old dog, each time a Sharingan is consumed, it is at most 60 seconds. How long his invincibility time is, you can see how many Sharingans he has. PS. Please vote for recommendation and monthly vote. Chapter 336. I won't let you be the leader. As soon as these words came out, Danzo felt a pain in his chest and almost spit out a mouthful of blood. Didn't this guy say that he wanted to let himself and Sasuke fight fairly? Why did he leak his information right away? Is this what a human would do? It's really the same bad taste as always, leaving no way out for Danzo. Kanai. Obito stood beside Kanai, and the corners of his mouth under the mask twitched fiercely. I can't help it. Who asked the second pillar to call me dad? This guy is so fierce. He was sent to compete with the Eight Tails in swordsmanship, and with the Raikage in lightning escape. He was beaten every time. He should be allowed to win a game. Kanai walked to the edge of the stone pillar and sat cross-legged, and then continued to shout, "Oh, too much. This old dog has a Sharingan hidden under the bandage on his right eye. Don't miss it. You two should sit down too. Just watch carefully." The latter sentence was said to JGO and Mizuki. As for Obito, he never really believed in Kanai. At this moment, the two sides were just in a relationship of mutual use. Naturally, he was on guard against Kanai, and would not sit down. The battle did not last long. Because Chiya intervened in the night of the extermination, many bodies of Uchiha clan members were destroyed. Danzo finally only got 6 3-Magatama Sharingan, including his own inventory, which is 8. The reason why the original work only transplanted 10 Sharingan was because he could only control 11. Now 8 were transplanted because he only had 8. 3 less than the original. After 8 minutes of invincibility, Danzo was defeated as expected. On the other hand, the second pillar was also injured under the suicidal tactics of killing 1000 enemies and injuring 800 of himself. The pupil power of both eyes was overused and almost blind. At this moment, Danzo's right arm turned into a tree and fell off because of excessive chakra loss and backlash from Ashirama cells. He himself was also fatally injured. He held onto his breath and ran towards Konoha, the other side of the bridge, leaving bloody footprints with every step. It's over. Obito had already lost his patience and jumped off the stone pillar in one step. That Chiya, should we go over and take a look? Sujetsu asked hesitantly. Kanai glanced at them. Danzo has engraved the 4 phase seals on his body in advance, in order to prevent himself from encountering an invincible enemy one day, and perishing together with the other party. If you want to go, just go. Hiss. Shuayu took a breath. Then we'd better wait here. Danzo, you're done. Obito landed in front of Danzo and stopped him. Damn it, how can I die here? I haven't become Hokage yet. Danzo kept coughing up blood with fragments of internal organs. At this moment, there were obstacles in front and pursuers behind. He was at the end of his road and had no way out. He missed the position of Hokage because he was timid and didn't volunteer to act as bait in the first time. Then there was the death of his old buddy Sarutobi Hiruzen, who loved and hated him. All the things in the past were like a revolving lantern, floating in his mind. His consciousness gradually blurred, and suddenly, Danzo's originally dim eyes suddenly lit up, which was a return of light. He stood up, turned around and asked Fujiwara Chiya in a stern voice, "Fujiwara Chiya, get off here, I have something to ask you." Obito and Sasuke were silent. Is this old man crazy? Danzo seemed to be worried that Chiya would ignore him, and then added, "Fujiwara Chiya, I'm about to die. Don't you have the courage to face me?" As soon as the voice fell, Chiya suddenly appeared between Obito and Danzo. "Fujiwara Chiya, Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Sasuke." 4. Danzo raised the half remaining puppet arm and cut his shirt, just as he was performing the 4 symbol seal like in the original book. Kainai's impatient voice rang in his ears. Alright, you are just doing it for the sake of the ninja world, Konoha and the like. You want to use the inner 4-phase seal before you die to seal us into your body and perish together. Isn't that childish? The inner 4-phase seal is so slow to release, and you can avoid it with a little precaution. In the end, you can only seal half a bridge. What's wrong with you? Danzo was stunned when he heard it, and his reaction was half a beat slow. Before he could finish his words, a pure white blade pierced his chest from the back, and Kainai's voice of judgment rang at the same time. "But I won't even let you seal half a bridge. You want to be so self-righteous, to die for protecting Konoha, to protect the ninja world, but I'm not as good as you want." Kainai had appeared behind Danzo at some point, so fast that Obito and Sasuke didn't react before the Zanpakuto pierced Danzo's chest. Well, my last blow has destroyed the inner 4-phase seals that Danzo had carved on his body. He will lose consciousness in half a minute at most. I'll leave it to you. Kainai casually swung the knife at Nejiru, who raised his hand and slashed, and Danzo was cut in half by Nejiru. Danzo's upper body twitched violently for a few times, and then he stopped moving and died with his eyes open. You are decisive, and that's what I like about you. It's time to prepare for the next war. Kainai swiped the blood off the knife and sheathed it. What are your plans next? At this time, JGO and Mizuki also jumped down from the stone pillar, one on the left and one on the right behind Nejiru. Nejiru looked back at them and said coldly, "I'm going to Konoha. Just you guys?" Kainai showed disdain. "What do you mean?" Nejiru frowned. Walking forward, Obito stood beside Kainai. "Kainai's right, Sasuke. You have overused your pupil power and will soon go blind. Without these eyes, you can't do anything." Nejiru snorted and turned his head away proudly. Although he had just defeated Danzo and regained a lot of confidence, but he had to admit that he was indeed extremely weak now. "Okay, Nejiru, I know you want revenge. But before that, you still have something to solve." Kainai looked towards the forest at 7 o'clock. The other 4 also looked over and seemed to understand something. Without any hesitation, Sasuke jumped over. JGO and Mizuki wanted to follow, but were stopped by Kainai. "Wait, there are more important things for you to do." "Things?" The 2 were stunned. Kainai didn't say too much nonsense and put them into the system warehouse. "It's just the 2 of us left." Kainai turned his gaze to Obito. "By the way, where is your most loyal little brother Kasame? I sent him on an infiltration mission to gather intelligence on the allied ninja forces." Obito asked in a deep voice, "When do you plan to provide combat power? I need to make a combat plan for this." He needs to seize the initiative for himself. "Don't worry, it will be done soon. Within 3 days, I will give you a big surprise," Kainai said calmly. "I'll be waiting for you at the base. I hope you'll keep your promise." After saying that, Obito displayed his Kamu and disappeared on the spot. Kainai smiled and turned his gaze to the opposite direction of the 2 pillars. "Come out." As soon as the voice fell, Tsunade and Chinatsu rushed out of the jungle and landed in front of Kainai. Chapter 337 Sakura's Death. PS. Update first and then change to bang. As soon as she appeared, Tsunade punched Kainai. The bridge collapsed, and the smoke filled the air. The breeze blew, revealing the figures of Kainai and Tsunade. Tsunade maintained the posture of punching. Kainai leaned back slightly, and the former's fist was close to the latter's face. Kainai did not dodge at all, and endured Tsunade's strange punch. "Why don't you use the armed color I taught you, so that you can cause me some damage more or less?" Kainai smiled. "Didn't you dodge, and didn't use the armed color or even the body protection key defense?" Tsunade wanted to retract her fist, but Kainai grabbed it and hugged it into her arms. Tsunade symbolically resisted a few times, hugged Kainai and cried, "What on earth are you thinking, you bastard? Why do you do such a thing with the masked man?" Kyangsha looked at her parents hugging each other, and a touch of jealousy appeared on her cute little face, and her cheeks puffed up. Sure enough, everything for children is an accident, and parents are true love. Kyanai noticed Kyangsha's dissatisfaction, let go of Tsunade, and picked her up. Kyangsha then showed a sweet smile on her face, and hugged her father's neck tightly with both hands, and gently rubbed her delicate little face. Kyanai gently stroked his daughter's back, smiled and said to Tsunade, "There are two aspects, one is for you, the other is for fun, to satisfy my bad taste. Play, play, play. When are you still playing? Do you know that the mask is using you? Once the so-called Moon Eye plan is completed, and has the power of the Ten Tails, he will deal with you first." Tsunade said angrily, "Of course I know. But what does it matter?" Kyanai put his daughter down, turned his back to his wife and daughter, put his hands behind his back, and then said, "If it was the Six Paths Sage who had two Samurais and the Ten Tails in his prime, then maybe I would be a little afraid of him. But that guy, it is impossible for him to become the real Six Paths Sage, the real Ten Tails Jinchuriki. What does this mean?" Tsunade said in surprise. "Are you sure you want me to tell you the plan? If I tell you, you and Shinatsu won't be able to leave. I will wait until the war is over before I'll let you out." Kyanai turned his head and said with a smile, "You bastard." Tsunade clenched her 5 fingers into a fist. A hash mark appeared on her forehead, and she almost gritted her teeth. Kyanai said again, "Then how about this? If your ninja coalition can win this war, I will withdraw. Otherwise, I will act according to my own plan. During this period, I will not intervene in the war between you." Tsunade was stunned. "Are you serious?" The biggest purpose of his trip was to prevent Kyanai from participating in the war. "When have I ever lied to you?" Kyanai smiled and said, "Of course, there are conditions. If any of you are in danger of life in this war, I will save you, and then restrict you, and no longer allow you to participate in the war. Haven't you lied to me enough?" Tsunade rolled her eyes, and raised her jade hand. "It's a deal." High five as an oath. How boring. Kyanai stepped forward, and in the jealous eyes of Chiksha, he hugged Tsunade, and gave her a wet French kiss for nearly 10 minutes. Taking advantage of the time to take a breath, Tsunade said coquettishly, "If you dare to lie to me, I will never forgive you." This made Chiksha jealous. As soon as the two separated, Chiksha threw herself into Kyanai's arms and bit his face wildly. Until the kiss was enough, he was satisfied and followed Tsunade away triumphantly. At the same time, Yuzi, who had just finished, returned and saw Kyanai, Tsunade and Chiksha getting close. Kyanai had already noticed that Nobushi was approaching, and quietly activated the mirror flower and water moon, hypnotizing the white Zetsu clone arranged by Obito in his body. Looking at the place where Tsunade and Shinatsu disappeared, Kyanai smiled slightly, turned around, and his smile suddenly withdrew, and he said indifferently, "Come out. Ah, look at what I found." Konoha's S-level rebel ninja actually has this kind of relationship with the Hokage, and has a daughter. No wonder you, who have always been unwilling to accept disciples, are willing to teach your skills to that little girl. Nobushi walked out from behind the stone pillar of the bridge jokingly. "You will be more surprised later." Contrary to Nobushi's expectations, Kyanai was not angry. He glanced at the blood in Nobushi's hand, and said with some surprise, "The chakra of the woman with a wide forehead seems to have disappeared. It's really surprising. You actually killed her?" "Yes, I want to sever the ties with Konoha." Nobushi's eyes suddenly turned cold and said sternly, 10 minutes ago, although Sei was gone, Sakura still used moral kidnapping to get Kiba Inuzuka and Rocky to accompany her in the search for Sasuke. Then, after confirming the location of the second pillar, just like in the original work, she used smoke bombs to stun them using the trust of the two. She came here self-righteously, wanting to settle with the second pillar. As a result, as soon as they met, she directly pulled curry. "Sasuke, I finally found you." This was the first sentence Sakura said after seeing Sasuke, and she said it with tears. "Then what?" Sasuke answered indifferently. There was no emotion in his words. "Come back with me. Now the 5 major countries have issued a death order against you. You are in danger. I will ask Tsunade-sama to pardon you." Sakura grabbed her collar with her right hand and begged, "Okay. Come here and help me heal my wounds first, and I will return to Konoha with you." The second pillar's eyes were still cold. Sakura swallowed hard and prepared a poisonous kunai in her sleeves in advance. She came here this time to prove herself and settle with the second pillar alone. In this way, two people with 800 thoughts came together. Without telling Kakashi, Sakura went to find Sasuke. Kakashi did not follow immediately, so Sakura naturally could not be a match for Najira. She died, pierced through the chest by Najira's Chidori, and died at the hands of the person she wanted the most. The only person who knew about it, Chinatsu, chose to ignore it because she knew that her father hated Sakura. The blood dyed the earth red, and Sakura's body was exposed in the wilderness. The scene returned to Sasuke and Kanai. It's up to you. Anyway, after the Moon Eye project is completed, everything is just a dream. Kanai turned his back to Sasuke. Najira frowned. What exactly is the Moon Eye project? There are 4 versions. Uchiha Madara's, the Masked Man, Black Zetsu, and mine. Kanai smiled and said, which one do you want to hear? Hurry up. Najira said impatiently. You call me dad, and I'll tell you a version. Kanai said playfully. Boring. Although Nizuzi was very curious, it was impossible for him to call Kanai father again. He snorted coldly and rushed towards the Akatsuki base. Next, he was going to transplant Itachi's Sharingan, heal his injuries, and fuse the Eternal Manger Key. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338 Dao joins. In the jungle. Kakashi, Yamato, Naruto, Karin, Team Gay, Team 8. 10 people and 1 dog, flying through the forest, moving quickly. Finally landed at the place where Sakura was killed by Sasuke. They were surprised at first, then shocked, and finally angry and sad. Are you late? The dark clouds gathered, the rain continued, and the bloody smell in the air was gradually dispersed. Kakashi stepped forward and gently stroked Sakura's face, asking her to close her eyes. He turned around and looked at Naruto worriedly. Naruto, you. Sorry, Kakashi-sensei, I want to be quiet. Naruto did not shout or explode the nine tails again. He stepped forward to pick up Sakura's body, turned around and walked towards Konoha, leaving Konoha's people with a lonely figure. In his mind, he recalled what Gaara had said to him not long ago. In order to unify the world and create peace in the illusion, Madara chose to start a war. In order to prevent his wife and daughter from entering the same ending as his parents, Chiya chose to cooperate with Madara. Sasuke, on the other hand, hated Konoha and was determined to seek revenge because he had lost his people. As a ninja, it was not difficult to determine the cause of death. Sakura died when someone pierced her chest with lightning, and Kiba had smelled Sasuke's scent here before, so the result was self-evident. She was killed by Sasuke. Yamato, Karin, Aniji, Tenten, and Lee. Naruto is in your hands. Kakashi sighed lightly and did not comfort them anymore. He just left the 8th team who were good at tracking. He knew that it was useless to say anything now. Things could not be reversed. Hearing this, the 5 people he named nodded slightly and followed. Kiba, can you still find Sasuke's scent now? Kakashi narrowed his eyes slightly. His face suddenly turned cold, and he decided to clean up the mess. Sasuke has been gone for a long time. After this heavy rain, the smell has been almost washed away. However, Ya took out a small piece of Akatsuki robe from the ninja bag. This was left by Kanai. He looked towards the bridge and said, I smelled the smell of another more troublesome guy. At the same time, there are several smells left there. There is a Fei, Sasuke, and another smell I have never smelled, but that guy is dead. Shino added on the side, my bug also smelled a strong bloody smell, but it did not send a danger signal. With the means of that Fujiwara Chiya, he must have discovered us, and seemed to be waiting for us on purpose. At this point, he glanced at Hinata, who had already opened her Byakugan to look in Kanai's direction, and asked Kakashi hesitantly, do you want to go over and take a look? Teacher Kakashi? Kakashi turned his gaze to Hinata, who cast an expectant look at him. He sighed softly, since he is waiting for us there, we can't run away. Let's go over and take a look. I don't know how Lady Tsunade and Shinatsu are doing. After a while, Kakashi brought Hinata and the other two to the place where Danzo fell. Kanai stood on the stone pillar, looking up at the sky and soaking in the rain. On the messy bridge deck was Danzo's body cut in half. Danzo? I never thought that the leader of the root organization who defected would die here. Kakashi glanced at Danzo's body and looked at Kanai. Did you kill him? Kanai said lightly. Didn't you guess it? Why ask more questions? I just caught Danzo when he defected and then locked him up for a few years. Otherwise, how could your Konoha be so peaceful? Thank me, now that Danzo is dead, you can absorb those root members with peace of mind. With the addition of the root, Konoha's overall strength can rise to a small level. Kakashi frowned and continued to ask, where are Hokage-sama and Shinatsu? You have too many questions. Kanai flashed and came to Hinata. Kakashi was shocked, thinking that Kanai was going to take Hinata away. He rushed over and said in a hurry, yep, Shino, quickly stop him, his target is Hinata. But before they could take a step, 3 big trees suddenly sprang out from the ground and tied them up instantly. Then they lost consciousness. When they woke up again, Kanai had already disappeared, leaving Hinata alone. Hinata, what happened just now? Kakashi asked. Brother Kanai said that Lord Hokage and Shinatsu have returned to the village. Hinata's face was a little hot, and she recalled the scene of the two kissing just now, and even her ears turned red. Looking at Hinata's easy to understand appearance, Kakashi didn't know what happened. In the Akatsuki organization, Scorpion's hobby is puppets, Deidara's is blasting, and Kaku is all about money, and Kanai's is women. Not surprisingly, this little girl has been taken advantage of by Kanai. Alas. Just pretend you didn't see it. A dark and humid cave, a secret base left by Orochimaru. Kabuto was wearing a red robe and sitting cross-legged on the ground. In front of him was a Konoha Chunin that he had captured. Summoning technique. Impure world reincarnation. He used both hands together, and runes representing the impure world reincarnation style appeared around the Chunin. Dust began to gather and covered the Chunin. The latter screamed immediately, but surprisingly, the dust dispersed when it gathered halfway. Kabuto couldn't help but say in distress, failed again. What happened? Not only did Scorpion, Kakuzu, and Nagato, the former members of the Akatsuki organization, accept Itachi, but even the fourth Kazekage failed. This time, a lot of big chess pieces were lost. Could it be? Suddenly, Kabuto remembered Danzo's left arm. According to Orochimaru's speculation before his death, Kanai seemed to have some ability to kill souls. Could it be him? Only half of the guess was right. At this moment, Kanai's voice sounded, breaking Kabuto's thoughts. Kabuto looked back and saw that Kanai had appeared behind him without him noticing. Master Kanai, how are you preparing for the impure world reincarnation? Kanai patted his shoulder and sat down beside him. We have collected a lot of powerful combat forces, but the 4th Kazekage and the members of the Akatsuki organization, except Itachi, have all failed. Kabuto did not show any surprise. He knew that he could not hide the fact that he was collecting corpses everywhere from the other party. Kanai said, the soul of the 4th Kazekage has been killed by my ninjutsu. Except for Itachi, none of the members of the Akatsuki organization died. I saved them, so you naturally cannot complete the impure world reincarnation. The war is about to start, and the news will spread soon. That fake Madara and I have declared war on the 5 major countries and launched the 4th Ninja World War. Are you interested in participating? The 4th Ninja World War? Kabuto was stunned, and a sinister smile like Orochimaru appeared on his face. He stretched out his long tongue and licked his lips. It would be a great honor. Chapter 339 News about the last female protagonist. Konoha Village. Hokage's office. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shinatsu were present. This is what happened. As soon as they returned to Konoha, Tsunade took Shinatsu to Jiraiya, who was in the Hokage's office, acting as the Hokage. She told him the whole story of the Shadowless talks. The scene suddenly became quiet. After a while, Jiraiya finally sighed and said, I never thought that Kanai would join forces with Madara and instigate Sasuke to cause a scene at the 5 Cage talks and start the 4th Ninja World War. The thing I was most worried about has really happened. But I didn't expect that Danzo would die in Sasuke's army in this way. Tsunade's face was full of helplessness and self-blame. Kanai mentioned to me a long time ago that Akatsuki would become the enemy that forced the 5 great nations to unite. I should have noticed it a long time ago. It wasn't until it happened that I realized it. If she had noticed it earlier and had pestered Kanai and squeezed him dry, if he didn't agree, would things have ended differently? Jiraiya comforted her. No, it's not your fault. No one thought Kanai would do it in such an extreme way, and no one thought Madara was still alive. It's a blessing in disguise that you can prevent Kanai from participating in the war between the coalition and Madara. Chinatsu was bored and listened to the conversation between the two. She was active and impatient. At this moment, a burst of hurried footsteps suddenly came from outside the office. Then, the door was pushed open and Shizune walked in breathlessly. It's not good, Lady Tsunade. What's wrong, Shizune? Let me breathe smoothly before talking. Tsunade's face sank, and she had a bad premonition in her heart. Shizune took a deep breath. Sakura sacrificed herself. When Tsunade and her group arrived at the Konoha hospital, Sakura's body had been collected, covered with a mourning banner. Sakura's mother kept hitting Naruto's chest and crying, "Why aren't you a hero of Konoha? Why didn't you protect my daughter?" Sakura's father, on the other hand, held his wife aside and kept repeating words of comfort such as ninja sacrifice is inevitable, but his eyes were already red. It is said that men don't shed tears easily, but they just haven't reached the point of being sad. Naruto let Sakura's mother hit him. His pupils were dilated, and he was lost, without any response. His best brother killed the woman he cared about the most for many years. Perhaps, he should be the one who suffered the most. I'm sorry, I should take full responsibility for this matter. As the captain of this operation, if I could have noticed Sakura's departure in time, or if I had left Konoha and found Sakura following, I would have insisted on my principles and sent her back to Konoha. Perhaps the tragedy could have been avoided. The one who spoke was Yamato. If Naruto was the most painful person among those present, then he was the one who blamed himself the most. As he said, he, as the captain, paid too much attention to Naruto, and thus ignored the feelings of Sakura, who was once a member of Team 7. So much so that he didn't notice that he was secretly taking Kibaranli to look for Sasuke. Tsunade saw all of this, and recalled the murderous look of the second pillar when he left. She made a rough judgment in her heart, and walked towards the morgue. Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama. Seeing the Hokage and Jiraiya coming, Yamato and Sakura's father saluted respectfully. Naruto still looked lost. Tsunade didn't reply, frowned and glanced at Naruto, nodded slightly to Yamato, Sakura's parents, and walked straight into the morgue. When she came out again, Sakura's parents had gone back, after being comforted by Shizune. Outside the morgue, only Yamato, Jiraiya, Naruto, and Chinatsu were left. Jiraiya folded his arms, leaned against the wall, and sighed. Is it Sasuke? Ah, there is only one fatal wound on his body. He died from Chidori. Tsunade nodded painfully. Tsunade-sama, Hearing this, Yamato was about to take the responsibility on himself, but Tsunade raised her hand to stop him, skipping the previous topic. Where is Kakashi? He stayed with teammate. Yamato looked at Naruto deeply, and said hesitantly, if nothing unexpected happens, he went to track down Sasuke. Find a way to notify them to come back. In addition, preserve Sakura's body. Seal it first. If this war is won, there may still be salvation. Tsunade thought of Kanai. Jiraiya was indeed dead at that time, and then he was saved by Kanai. Maybe Kanai would have a way. But it is hard to say whether Kanai is willing to save him. Of course, all this is still based on the victory of the war. If it loses, the ninja world no longer exists, not to mention saving. For now, the plan should be to restore Naruto, the key figure in the war, to his fighting spirit. As expected, as soon as these words came out, Naruto's eyes lit up, and with Tsunade's repeated assurances, he regained his former liveliness and cheerfulness. Looking at Naruto's leaving figure, Tsunade didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and turned her eyes to the window. Next, it's time to prepare to form a ninja coalition. Hearing this, Yamato, Jiraiya and Chinatsu nodded heavily. The scene suddenly became quiet, and at this moment, an abrupt voice suddenly sounded. Tsunade-sama, just now there was news from the Sand Village that the ruins of the ancient country of Laulan have repeatedly experienced riots recently. The seal of the fourth Hokage seems to have loosened. Tsunade and the others looked in the direction of the voice, and Shizune returned and ran over quickly. At the same time, the mountain cemetery of the Iron Country. Have the eyes of Itachi been transplanted for the second pillar? The infiltration plan of Kisame should have been successful. Obito had just transplanted Sasuke's eyes and was about to go to the Rain Village to retrieve the samurai when he met Chiya at the door. At the same time, behind him, there was Kabuto in a dark red snake robe. Kainai? Obito glanced at Kabuto beside Kainai in surprise. Is this the surprise you brought to me? Kainai smiled and nodded. Of course. Don't underestimate Kabuto. From the first time I saw him, I was sure that his future would be limitless. It's just that, while Orochimaru became his guide, he also became a shackle that imprisoned his talents. Now that Orochimaru is no longer in existence, Kabuto's value has been revealed. Now he has become an existence of the same level as us. Really? Obito obviously didn't believe it, with a little disdain in his words. If I remember correctly, he used to be a spy for Scorpion and a traitor to Akatsuki. The past is the past, and the present is a present. In the past, weren't we ninjas of Konoha? Kainai turned his gaze to Kabuto. Kabuto, it seems that some people are still questioning your ability. Show us your methods, Lord Uchiha Madara. Chapter 340 Goodbye, Shinobi Pig Hidden. Then please wait and see. Kabuto raised the corner of his mouth slightly, put his hands together, and the ground trembled. 4 coffins were summoned from the ground, and the lids of the coffins opened automatically. From left to right, they were Itachi, the second Tsuchikage, the second Mizukage, and the third Reikage. Because all the members of the Akatsuki organization, except Itachi, were saved by Kainai, Kabuto had to summon the 3 former shadows to fill the door. Although Obito was shocked, he still pretended to be calm and thought to himself, immortality reincarnation. Kainai said on the side, I won't introduce Obito Takashi too much, they are all old acquaintances. The remaining 3 from left to right are the second Tsuchikage, the second Mizukage, and the third Reikage. Each of them is a ninja who dominates Nira, and their strength is even greater than that of the current 5 shadows. Not only that, in addition to these, Kabuto has also collected the bodies of many powerful ninjas. It can provide us with powerful combat power in the next war. But these may not be in your eyes. Kabuto, summon your trump card. Kabuto was stunned. Trump card? Then he reacted and put his hands together again. Nothing can be hidden from Master Kainai. The summoning technique, the impure world reincarnation. As soon as the voice fell, a coffin rose from the ground again. The coffin opened automatically, revealing a middle-aged figure with red armor and black hedgehog hair. It turned out to be the real Uchiha Madara. Seeing this, Obito could no longer suppress the shock in his heart. His pupils were bleeding, and he lost his voice in horror. What is this? What do you think? Do you still think he is not worthy of standing on the same level as us? Kainai smiled. Where did this guy Kabuto get it from? Obito stared at Kainai and asked in a deep voice, did you give it to him? I'm not interested in digging up dead bodies, even if they were once the Shura of the ninja world. Kainai folded his arms and leaned against the huge animal skeleton behind him. It's not too late to discuss the specific cooperation later. Are the Itachi corpse I asked you to prepare, and the Sharingan that Sasuke replaced ready? Give it to me. Obito frowned when he heard it. Okay, but from now on, neither you nor Kabuto can interfere with my recovery of the samurai. Although Itachi has been resurrected by the impure world reincarnation, and the eyes of the second pillar are completely blind, they have lost their value. But Kainai can't get it for nothing. Don't worry, my body and hair are from my parents. I can't do something like removing my own eyeballs and transplanting other people's eyes. Kainai said. He wanted the samurai, and fusion was enough. Moreover, the samurai had been recovered by him a long time ago. It was just out of wanting to see if Obito could defeat Konan, who knew all his information. He knew that Konan had prepared nearly 1.5 trillion detonating tags. The explosion time was close to 20 minutes. If Obito died in the middle of a battle, he couldn't blame himself. At worst, he could fuse the Samurai and fight in his place, although this would reduce a lot of fun. Hearing this, Obito didn't hesitate anymore. He used his Kamu and twisted the space with his right eye. Itachi's body and the glass jar containing the two eyes of the pillar appeared in front of Kanai. Under the astonished gaze of Kabuto and Obito, Kanai pressed his hand on the glass jar. White light came on. With the input of chakra, the black pupils in the glass jar, which had been dim and covered by shadows, regained color at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then they turned into 3 Megatama, and finally transformed into a 6-pointed star-shaped kaleidoscope. Seeing this magical scene, Kabuto put away the impure world reincarnation coffin, clapped his hands, and couldn't help but admire. As expected of Lord Kanai, he can even restore the lost Mangeki Sharingan. It's just a trifle, not worth mentioning. Kanai casually put the corpse of Daisaozi and the eyes of Nobushi into the system warehouse. The reason why he wanted to recover the corpse of Daisaozi and Nobushi's blind eyes. On the one hand, he wanted to give Daisaozi's ashes to Mrs. Mikoto. On the other hand, he naturally didn't want to waste a pair of Eternal Mangeki in vain. Nobushi could obtain the Eternal Mangeki by transplanting Daisaozi's eyes. Conversely, the same principle applies to Daisaozi transplanting Nobushi's eyes. In other words, as long as he has these two things, he can give anyone a pair of Eternal Mangeki Sharingan. Let's save the flattery for later. Obito looked at Kabuto. Kabuto, tell me, what do you want from cooperating with us? Kabuto smiled mysteriously. Originally, I wanted the young and energetic body of the Uchiha, that is, Uchiha Sasuke. But now, it seems that it is not necessary, because Lord Kanai has promised to give me more favorable conditions. More favorable conditions? Obito looked at Kanai in surprise. More favorable conditions. Kanai smiled indifferently and suddenly seemed to sense something, and the smile on his face suddenly converged. Okay, the two of you have discussed the specific plans for the next step. It seems that the fruit I planted over there is time to harvest. After saying that, Kanai used Flying Thunder God and disappeared from the sight of Obito and Kabuto. When he appeared again, he had already arrived at the vast and endless desert. There were rocks everywhere. Kanai made a seal with his right hand, and a huge stone rose automatically, revealing a passage ladder leading to the underground. Walking into it, the huge stone automatically returned to its place. In a dim underground room somewhere, the candlelight flickered. Kakuzu, when will you help me find a new body? I'm fed up with this pig's body. Hidden, who had a human head and a pig's body, lay on the table, saying boredly. Kakuzu said with green eyes, shut up, Hidden. The boss told us not to show up in the near future. Also, don't disturb me counting the money. This is more than 3 billion taels. The boss said that, if I can count the money accurately, when he comes back next time, he will hand it all over to me for management. Duan just allocated 100 million taels to Scorpion, and I have to review it again. If you want a body, let Scorpion build one for you. Hidden pouted and said, money, 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 you are really obsessed with money. You've counted it dozens of times. You're not even bothered by it. The damn Fujiwara Chiya, how can I preach with this look on his face? And the same goes for that bastard Scorpion, a puppet who can't feel pain or joy. What's the use of a body? All day long it's either a puppet doll or that broken dragon vein. It's so boring. Listening to the conversation between Hidden and Kakuzu, Chiya walked to their basement room, put on a stern face, and pushed the door open. I seem to have heard someone saying bad things about me. When Fujiwara heard this and saw Kanai, his scream stopped abruptly. The face on the pig looked as if its mother had died. Kakuzu ran to Kanai with an excited look on his face, asking for credit and reward. Boss, I have counted the money. You allocated me 3,657,830,000 taels. Please take a look at the remaining amount after deducting expenses. As he spoke, Kakuzu respectfully handed over an account book. Our classmate Kakuzu respected the powerful and wealthy boss very much. Chapter 341 Scorpion's Achievements. You did a good job. Kanai took the account book, glanced at it symbolically, and then lost interest. Then this fund, Kakuzu said angrily, with a pair of green beads, revealing an expectant look. It belongs to you. Kanai turned his eyes to Fujiwara. who had a human head and a pig body, and grinned. Just now I seemed to hear someone saying bad things about me. How could it be possible? You should be looking for Scorpion. I'll call you now. Fiden heard that. Where was the previous courage? And jumped off the table in a panic. Scorpion arrived soon. After a conversation, Kai and I got the research data about the dragon vein from Scorpion, and then the three of them and the pig came to the place where the 4th generation Hokage sealed the dragon vein. You are really a genius. Standing in front of the dragon vein seal, Kai and I looked at the research data handed over by Scorpion and couldn't help but sigh. It must be said that Scorpion is indeed a talent. Although he was restricted by the profession of puppeteer and his strength could not keep up in the later period, he was indeed unique in research. If Orochimaru is a talent in biology, then Scorpion is in science and technology. Scorpion said, "This dragon vein itself has the power to travel through time and space. I just developed a controlled device in this regard, which is nothing. Although I don't know what you are going to do, I advise you not to change history easily, otherwise everything now will change drastically. I guess you don't want to bear such consequences." Of course I know this, but there is something that must be done, and it will not change history. Kai and I nodded and looked up at the system light screen in front of him, that only he could see. This was the hidden task that appeared when Naruto called him father. Option 1. In name only, be Naruto's real father. The reward system has added a random travel function. Option 2. Be Naruto's nominal father. Reward Chiyo's grandmother's underwear. Seeing option 2, Kai and I's mouth twitched fiercely, and his eyes turned to Z. Do you need me to help you rescue your parents? It is not difficult to rescue them without changing history, and then bring them to you. It's up to you. Z was stunned for a moment, and threw out a control bracelet. This is what you need. It can freely control the dragon vein to the time you want to arrive. So far, I have tried to use summon beasts and puppets to travel through time. After many attempts, I finally found the things I teleported during this period. However, because those summoned beasts and puppets do not have control bracelets, it is still impossible to confirm whether the dragon vein has a return function. I think someone will verify this for us soon. Kai and I put on the bracelet. How is the situation of Beizu? Z said, as you requested. After obtaining the information about the dragon vein from him, I released him again. Now he has been subjected to brain manipulation and has become my man. He is strolling around outside recently. I believe he will soon attract the attention of Sand Ninja. At this point, Scorpion seemed to have thought of something and suddenly laughed. You're right. Someone will come to help us verify the function of the dragon vein soon. The dragon vein was sealed by the 4th Hokage, and Sand Village and Konoha had an agreement. Perhaps it would be best to let those guys from Konoha help us verify it. Then I'll wait for your good news here. As usual, if there is a result, contact me with the Flying Thunder God Special Q&A. Kai and I was about to leave, after performing Flying Thunder God. The ninja Fiden beside him hurriedly bit the corner of Kai and I's clothes, and disappeared with him from the sight of Scorpion and Kikuzu. When they appeared again, the two had returned to the hidden rain village. Why are you following me? Kai and I pulled the corner of his clothes, and Fiden immediately fell to the ground. What else can you do? Body, give me a human body. Fiden roared. Well, but you have to wait a little longer. After all, I'm not a devil. I can't be so crazy as to kill someone to get you a body. After the 4th Ninja World War begins, I'll go to the battlefield and pick one for you. Kai and I took out a dog leash from the system warehouse and tied it around Fiden's neck. Fiden was stunned. The 4th Ninja World War? Then he reacted, and a sick smile appeared on his face. When? And with whom? I want to participate too. Kai and I said, of course it's Akatsuki in the 5 major countries. Now there are only 4 people left in Akatsuki, including me, Afei, Xiaonan, and Yikang. Oh, and Zetsu. The others are either really dead, or fake their deaths like you. Afei is the mastermind behind Akatsuki. Forget it. Why should I tell you that? With your brain and strength, after the information is leaked, you will be cannon fodder if you go to the war. If you want to go, go ahead. As he spoke, Kai and I set a seal on the rope without waiting for Fiden to reply, and tied it to a random telephone pole. Then, amidst hidden scolding, he went home. The land of iron. The mountain cemetery. Obito walked out of the cave slowly. Are we finally going out? Don't we have to wait for Chiya to come back? He said he wanted to recycle the fruits he planted before. White Zetsu asked as the pitcher plant emerged from the rock wall of the cave. Obito stopped. No, I've already told Chiya about this in advance, and he won't interfere with my actions. Are we going to the Hidden Rain Village to recycle the Samsurai? Kabuto walked out of the darkness with a white snake wrapped around his body. This has nothing to do with you. Don't do anything wrong while I'm away. Obito said indifferently. Kabuto pursed his lips and smiled. Don't worry, what I want, Lord Kurenai has promised me. But then again, I have studied the Sharingan, and the Uchiha clan members who know how to love are often more powerful after opening their eyes. You must have lost a lot to have such eyes. You can try to find Lord Kurenai to get them back. Shut up. Being touched, Obito turned around suddenly and burst out with a strong killing intent. At the same time, there was also the pressure of the Sharingan that once overwhelmed the 4th generation of Mizukage. At this moment, even the air solidified. Wow, such a strong killing intent. Kabuto narrowed his eyes and thought to himself that it was not appropriate to turn against him for the time being. Then he smiled indifferently and raised his hands frivolously. I surrender. I surrender. Obito said coldly, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you were brought here by Kurenai. At most, you are an existence with the same interests as us. Remember your position, Kabuto. After speaking, Obito disappeared from Kabuto's sight. Kabuto looked at the place where Obito disappeared, sneering in his heart. The angel of the Hidden Rain Village had a close relationship with Master Kurenai, but he didn't even notice this. I hope you can come back alive. Otherwise, it would be too boring. Uchiha Madara, oh no, Uchiha Obito. Chapter 342. 1.5 trillion explosive talismans. The Hidden Rain Village. The highest bell tower. Kurenai's peeling an apple for the pregnant Yuhi Kyuubi. Also present were Mrs. Makoto, Izumi, Konan, and Chika and the other girls. The family sat around on the sofa, chatting about their future lives. Suddenly, Kurenai and Chika sensed something at the same time. They looked at each other, and Kurenai said, is it finally here? The girls knew that Kurenai was talking about Obito. The scene suddenly became quiet, and everyone looked at Konan. The latter stood up and said, he used Nagato and me to kill many members of the 1st generation of Akatsuki. It's time to make peace with him. As he spoke, Konan stood up and walked out of the house. Kurenai, do you need me to go over and help? Izumi stood up and looked at Kurenai with some concern. After all, the opponent was the one who wiped out the Uchiha Guard alone. Don't worry, Konan has already analyzed his information thoroughly. If even this can't kill Obito, then I will do it myself. Kurenai rubbed Kwan's head and shouted to the balcony, hey, Yukato, my Akatsuki robe is broken. After ironing the clothes, help me get the clothes that Mrs. Makoto sewed for me. I know. Master. Yukato, who was dressed in a maid outfit, walked in reluctantly with the clothes that had just been ironed. Kurenai, after all, she is also a senior ninja of the Hidden Cloud Village. Isn't it a bit bad for us to throw all the housework to her? Mrs. Makoto asked Kurenai with a smile. It doesn't matter. Compared with my life-saving grace to her, doing some housework is nothing big. Kurenai smiled. At this time, Yukato, whose chakra was sealed and whose body was restricted by Kurenai, was really miserable. He knew a lot of information that was enough to shock the ninja world, but he couldn't pass it on, and he had to do housework here every day. Don't mention how aggrieved I am. If I had known this would happen, I would have died. Soon, Kurenai changed into new clothes. His hair was combed back, leaving only a strand of hair hanging on his face. A long dress with a white base and black edges, and long black cloth boots. The zanpakuto was tied to a dark red belt. This was Kurenai's custom-made Arrancar outfit. At first glance, it was not much different from the Aizen outfit during the Hukomondo period, except that the cumbersome hakama was missing. Kurenai turned his gaze to the window. After the matter in the Hidden Rain Village was resolved, it was time to pick up the last daughter-in-law. On the other side, Obito was looking for Nagato's body. What a coincidence, he saw Hidden, who was tied to a telephone pole by Kurenai, and was sleeping soundly on the ground like a watchdog. Next to him, there was a bowl of food and water. This is hidden? Obito said in surprise. Hearing someone teaching him, Shinobu Hidden opened his eyes sleepily, licked his pig's trotters, looked up and down at Obito, and suddenly showed a look of surprise on his face. You are a fei. Come on, a fei, untie this annoying dog rope for me. Why are you here? Obito threw a kunai casually, but it was rebounded by the ceiling barrier attached to the rope. Is it a barrier? Without waiting for Hidden to reply, countless papers floated behind Obito, and then condensed, and turned into Conan's graceful figure. She asked indifferently, are you looking for something? Obito did not deny it, and said with his back turned, where is Nagato's body? Not here. Conan replied suddenly, and the god's paper technique was performed, and it turned into countless papers again, to lead Obito to the sea where 1.5 trillion detonating tags were arranged. Rinnegan, are you not ready to hand it over? You should know that it is not something you can keep. Obito said in a deep voice. Conan stared at Obito. I knew you would come back to find me, so I waited for a long time. Just to take your life. Why did you betray me? Was it because of Naruto? Obito said, although I don't know what Naruto said to Nagato, you should know that Akatsuki does not allow betrayal. Heh, Conan sneered. Nagato may have been persuaded by Naruto to perform the Samsara reincarnation, but I was not. Then what was your reason? Obito continued to ask. Because when I was threatened by Hanzo of the Salamander, you killed many members of the first generation of Akatsuki who came to rescue Nagato and Yahiko. Now Hanzo and Danzo are dead. It's time for you, the bastard who stole Akatsuki, to pay for your life. Conan didn't say any more nonsense. The paper wings behind her condensed and spread out, rushing towards Obito. The moment she approached, she turned into countless pieces of paper mixed with detonating tags, passing through Obito's hollow body. I see. It seems that you have investigated a lot about me, and it seems that you also know my information. Obito displayed Camus. The space of his right eye twisted, and while absorbing the paper, he smiled and said, but you underestimated the pupil power of Uchiha. If you stay in the clock tower honestly, then I still have some concerns, but this is a detonating tag. Obito was shocked and hurriedly stopped the speed of absorption. At this moment, Conan took the opportunity to launch the god's paper technique. The sea disguised by 1.5 trillion detonating tags split from the middle and turned into an endless abyss, swallowing Obito in it. The explosion lasted for nearly 25 minutes. In the dark, Kanai saw all this and said in surprise, strange, isn't it 800 billion in the original work for 10 minutes? How come it's more than 20 minutes and it hasn't stopped yet? Wait, it seems to be 600 billion. Thinking of this, Kanai couldn't help but mourn for Obito. 1.5 trillion. This is 25 minutes. Can Obito still bear it? Suddenly, Kanai seemed to sense something again, and a smile appeared on his face. No wonder, last time when Chinatsu consumed his left eye, he was able to survive the backhand left by Itachi on Hashira without consuming his divine right eye. It turned out that, because of the precedent of being almost killed by himself before, he transplanted an extra Sharingan on his body. Combined with the 5-minute penetration of Camus, it just blocked the explosion of 1.5 trillion detonating tags. The explosion stopped, the sea returned to calm, the dark clouds dispersed, and the sun poured down. Conan gasped for breath, and looked up at the dawn. Finally succeeded. I didn't expect this technique to consume so much chakra. Even the god's paper technique was cancelled. But it seems that the bastard is already dead. Obito suddenly appeared behind Conan, just when he was about to use the steel pipe to penetrate Zayanan's abdomen from behind like in the original novel. Kanai suddenly appeared and grabbed the steel pipe. It's a matter of seconds. Kanai. Obito was startled, let go of the steel pipe, jumped back to distance himself from Kanai, and asked, didn't you say you wouldn't interfere with my recovery of the Samsara eye? Yes, but I didn't say I would let you kill my wife. Kanai laughed. Kanai. Zayanan fell weakly into Kanai's arms. Although she was not injured, her chakra was almost exhausted. Chapter 343 New Spiritualism. Wife. Looking at Kanai holding Zayanan, Obito's mouth twitched fiercely under the mask. Although Kainai had expressed his love for Zayanan more than once at the Akatsuki organization meeting a long time ago. But at that time, Kainai already had a wife and children, and everyone thought it was just a casual talk. Moreover, Pin had warned Kainai more than once not to hit Zayanan. Who knew that Zayanan was taken down by Pin just a few days after he went offline. This was undoubtedly a deep blow to Obito, who was obsessed with love and could not get it. Yes, it's my wife. Kainai nodded, and chakra was injected into Zayanan's body. The latter's pale face returned to ruddy at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then what is the agreement you made with me before? Obito's face became more and more ugly. With Kainai here, his chances of taking back the samurai are almost impossible. Samurai? I can give it to you. After all, this is something I promised you a long time ago, but you just bullied my wife, and things can't just be left like this. Kainai said with a smile. Bullying? Obito looked at Konan, whose chakra had been restored by Kainai, and his only remaining right eye, and then looked at his right arm, that was blown off by Konan's detonation talisman. Damn, who is bullying whom? If I hadn't been careful and transplanted an extra Sharingan, I would have been killed long ago. Okay, what do you want? The situation was stronger than the person, and Obito chose to endure. As long as the Moon Eye plan could be completed, and he could meet Lin in the Great Illusion, then he didn't care about anything. Talking to smart people is refreshing. Kainai smiled, and just like that, he got the skills such as Yin Yang Escape and Six Paths technique that Uchiha Madara had taught him from Obito. Afterwards, on the grounds that Obito could not bear two samurais, he was only given the left eye. This made Obito so angry that he almost cursed. After Obito left, Kainai released JGO and Sujetsu. Wow, I was scared to death. As soon as he was released, Shuai complained. I say, you guy, don't lock people up in that dark place next time. It's so scary and terrifying. On the contrary, Changwoo felt much more at ease, without a trace of dissatisfaction on his face. In that dark and vast space, he felt unprecedented tranquility. Kainai crossed his arms. That's because you are too weak. My space is different from Arthur's. Only people or things that have contact with my body and have no power to resist can be taken in. If you can resist and be knocked unconscious by me, you won't have to endure such pain. Okay, I don't have time to argue with you anymore. If you don't want to go back to that place, go find something for me. Changwoo and Shuai looked at each other, and they were stunned, and question marks appeared on their faces at the same time. Something. Yes. Something that only you can find. He is hiding in a secret room in a base of Orochimaru. Kainai didn't keep them in suspense. He quickly sent the two away. Looking at the two figures going away, Zayanan asked hesitantly, Kainai, do you think they will honestly deliver the things? No. Kainai shook his head. What he asked Sujetsu and JGO to find was nothing else but the method to remove Orochimaru's Shiki Fujin. Then you just let them find it. At least find someone to monitor them. You know, what they are looking for is related to the god of ninja. Zayanan frowned. It's just a few dead people who add fun to this war. Don't worry about it. Kainai looked towards the ruins of the ancient country of Laolan. It's been so long. Naruto should have traveled through time and space to see the fourth generation. But it doesn't matter. Although the dragon vein can be sealed into the body like the tailed beast. But I don't want to become a Jinkriki. It's time to find a suitable container. Next, Kainai set his sights on the paradise box in the isolated island prison Ghost Lantern City surrounded by cliffs and seas. There is a monster left over from the Six Paths Sage period. It's just right to act as a summoning beast. When Kainai arrived, the box of paradise was opened. Naruto, Tsunade, Killer Bee, Kakashi and other Konoha ninjas as well as Kyuubi were all there. At this moment, they were fighting with the monsters in the box of paradise. Kainai looked familiar. Isn't this the plot of Naruto the movie, Blood Prison? Fujiwara Chiya. The Konoha ninjas saw Kainai coming and stopped attacking the monster. The Kyuubi party stood in front of Killer Bee, suppressed their fear, and asked, damn it, Fujiwara Chiya, are you here to capture Lord Killer Bee? The monster also noticed Kainai and stopped fighting. He could read the enemy's mind through fear, but he couldn't see through the mind of the young man who suddenly appeared in front of him. In other words, the other party had no fear at all. There was also this strange feeling. Don't worry, I'm not here to capture the tailed beasts. After all, if the 8 and 9 tails are captured now, the 4th Ninja World War will be meaningless. Kanai turned his eyes to the monster. The black wings barely resembled a human, with 4 limbs and a huge head that was very inconsistent with its body. The mouth with exposed fangs almost occupied most of its face. In preparation for the 4th Ninja World War, I'm currently collecting a summoning beast. It just so happens that I have a crush on this big-headed guy. Kanai said this without further ado. He drew out his Zanpakuto and performed the Kyoka Sujetsu. At the same time, he symbolically formed a seal with his right hand, and countless large branches of several feet thick emerged from the ground. They covered the monster and tied it up. The monster had the ability to fly, and with a flap of its wings, it repeatedly avoided the attacks of wood release. But before it could catch its breath, Kanai suddenly appeared above it, and with a light wave of his Zanpakuto, a crescent-shaped slash of dozens of meters long landed on the top of the monster's head. The monster fell to the ground like a cannonball. Wood release ended. In the horrified eyes of Konoha and Kyuubi, a huge wooden dragon with a long hooked nose and thorns all over its body sprang out from the ground and easily tied up the monster. The monster screamed and lost its ability to move. Then, see you on the battlefield next time. Kanai ignored the shocked ninjas, landed on top of the monster, said hello to Tsunade, cast Flying Thunder God and left. When he appeared again, he had arrived at the seal of the Lowland Dragon Vein. Asshole, let me go. The monster screamed madly. Be quiet. Kanai closed his eyes slightly, then opened them suddenly, revealing a pair of scarlet 4-cornered windmill-shaped Mangeki Sharingan. He knew that this monster from the Six Paths Sage period would never truly submit to him. So he used Shizu's Mangeki, Katamatsukami, for the first time. He did not have to worry about the problem of too long cooling time after fusing with the cells of the first generation. Chapter 344 Father and Mother return to the night of Nine-Tailed Fox. Soon, the monster calmed down, spitting out its snake head, and turned into Kanai's pet dog. From now on, I'll call him Ziohei. What is this? A wooden dragon, and a humanoid monster with a huge mouth and wings? Scorpion and Horn heard the noise outside and rushed out. Nothing, just a container I found for the dragon vein. It has become my pet. Now, it is harmless. I named it Ziohei. Kanai turned his back to the two of them, touched Ziohei's head, and casually lifted the wooden dragon technique. Kakuzu seemed to recognize Kanai's ninjutsu and asked hesitantly, this is the first generation's wood dragon jutsu. Oh. Kanai closed his Mangeki Sharingan. His pupils returned to dark color, and an interested look appeared in his eyes. He laughed jokingly. You, who threw Kyuubi at the first generation Naruto from 800 miles away, actually recognize this wood dragon jutsu? What do you mean by throwing Kyuubi from 800 miles away? I have actually fought with the first generation Hokage. Kakuzu's old face turned red, and there was a little unconfidence in his tone. I just lost. It's up to you. Next, I will seal the dragon vein into this little black body. Kanai waved his hand and said seriously, Scorpion, you were originally in charge of intelligence work in the Akatsuki organization. I believe you know that the 4th Ninja World War is about to begin. Yeah, I never thought that beansprout Afei would be the mastermind behind Akatsuki, or the legendary Uchiha Madara. Scorpion nodded solemnly. So what are your plans next? Kanai said casually, if you don't want to join the war, just find a place to hide. It's best to go to the Hidden Rain Village, because it is the only place that will not be affected by the war, and you are very familiar with it. Kakuzu and Sasori looked at each other, and looked at Kanai with some surprise. I thought you would let us go to join the war. Kanai smiled and said, this war has gone beyond the scope of ninjas. Even the 5K are just cannon fodder with a little ability. If you go, it will only add to the sacrifices. Don't look at me like this. I still cherish my companions. At least, except for Daisaozi, the guy who once wanted to kill me. I secretly rescued other members of the Akatsuki organization. Sasori was suddenly shocked. Pina said to have been defeated by Konoha's Ninetales Jinchuriki. Did you save him too? Kanai said, being defeated by the Ninetales Jinchuriki is a bit exaggerated. Naruto is not that capable, but I did save him. After all, he is my brother-in-law. Brother-in-law Scorpion and Kakuzu rolled their eyes. Sure enough, this guy still attacked Zianan. Okay, it's up to you, whether to go to the war or hide in the Hidden Rain village, and wait for the war to end. Kanai said, jumping on Zioho's head, and rushing to the Dragon Vein ceiling site. Scorpion's voice sounded behind him. Wait, is there anything else? Kanai turned around. Some time ago, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki came. Scorpion seemed to be hesitant to speak. I know. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is now in the Ghost Lantern City, and the Eight-Tails is also there. I just came back from there. Kanai answered. What about me? Looking at Scorpion's expression, that could not be understood more. Kanai knew that he wanted him to save his parents, and immediately showed a playful smile. My parents. Scorpion mustered up the courage and spoke with difficulty. Kanai nodded, gave an affirmative answer, and looked at Kakuzu again. Kakuzu, do you have anyone you need me to bring back for you? I don't have anyone. Kakuzu answered without hesitation. He would not save those Langayan ninjas who had betrayed him. An angry roar resounded throughout the world, with a strong hatred and ominous breath in the voice. 9 huge fiery red tails opened in the air in an instant, setting off a violent wave of air. The surrounding houses were torn into pieces like thin paper, and wooden boards, dust, and stone chips flew all over the place. The villagers who were supposed to be immersed in a peaceful scene all screamed in fear and despair after seeing this scene. Nine-tailed. It was still the familiar scene. It was still the familiar scream. Kanai looked at the scene in front of him, and his observation and perception radiated out, and soon he found his childhood self. And his parents. He first secretly rescued his father who went to stop the Nine-tailed, and then used the Wood Escape clone to pretend to be him, and fake his death. In his stunned eyes, he used illusion to make him fall asleep, and put him in the system warehouse. Then he was by his mother and his childhood self. It was still his mother who died to protect him. But Kanai was not sad at all. He placed his palm on her body and easily revived her. Then he repeated the same trick, creating a wood release clone to perform the art of pretending to be dead. Just when Kanai was about to put his mother into the system space, she woke up. She asked in a trembling and weak voice, "Who are you?" He had only traveled through time when he was 6 years old. He had no feelings for his parents in this life, and had never even said a word to them. So he did not intend to recognize them. But his mother's next words made his heart tremble. "Are you Zioi?" Zioi, what a strange name. This was the name his parents called him in his previous life and this life. Kanai was stunned for a moment, and did not communicate with her too much. He used illusion to make her fall asleep, and then put her into the system warehouse. He followed the direction of the Nine-Tails chakra to the outside of Konoha village. On the way, Kanai sensed a large number of chakras that he had never sensed, hiding in the Sarutobi clan's territory. Now, he finally understood why the Sarutobi clan had a core in the original 4 wars. But when he exterminated his clan, there were very few strong people, and there were only more than 2,000 people. He immediately created several shadow clones to deal with the group of Sarutobi family ninjas. He hid his true identity and stopped the 3 generations who were rushing to the Nine-Tails, facilitating his next move. When Kanai arrived, the 4 generations had already used the Shikigami seal and extracted half of the Nine-Tails chakra. At the same time, Kanai also saw the newborn Naruto for the first time, and the purpose of this trip, Kushina, the iconic red hair of the Uzumaki clan. Because of the extraction of the tailed beast, the color dimmed a little, the skin was pale, the hair was messy, and 5 chains condensed by chakra extended from the back, binding the Nine-Tails. Because the general chakra was extracted, the Nine-Tails became smaller, and the diamond seal that bound him was obviously much looser. Unfortunately, Kushina was too weak to collect it in time. The Nine-Tails saw that the 4th Hokage planned to seal it into Naruto's body. The claws stretched out, intending to kill Naruto with 1 finger as in the original work. Kushina and the 4th Hokage moved. Just when they were planning to use their bodies to block the Nine-Tails claws, Kanai appeared and caught the Nine-Tails claws with 1 hand. "You are really in a mess, 4th Hokage." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345, Another Fugaku. This is, with their backs to the Nine Tails, the fourth Hokage and Kushina were guarding Naruto. Their expressions suddenly changed. They turned back in shock and looked at the mysterious young man who suddenly appeared. He actually controlled the Nine Tails claws with one hand. That kind of power is simply unbelievable. This is not the most important thing. The other party did not show up earlier or later, but waited until the Nine Tails was about to be sealed. Thinking of this, the two looked at Kanai with a hint of vigilance. The fourth Hokage asked in a deep voice, "Who are you?" If the person in front of him was just here to save him, he would naturally be grateful. But if the other party wanted to snatch the Nine Tails, and it would be bad for Konoha, he would risk his life, which no longer belonged to him. He would also use the Shikigami Fujin on his body to seal the other party. What a scary look. Are you worried that I will seize the Nine Tails? Kanai smiled, and the Nine Tails roared from behind. Damn it, you little brat, you better be quiet, stinky fox. Kanai turned back and glared at the Nine Tails, and the Sharingan flashed. The Nine Tails, without any Jinchuriki, was hit by just 3 Magatama. With a bang, the Nine Tails' neck tilted and fell to the ground with lifeless eyes. Its mouth was slightly open, and its tongue was sticking out, looking like a cat that was anesthetized and about to be sterilized. Dust was raised all over the sky. At the moment, when the Nine Tails fell, the fourth Hokage and Kushina were shocked by Kanai's move. Although they did not see the Sharingan, but with just a glare, they subdued the Nine Tails that they risked their lives to suppress. Such ability reminded them of the masked man who controlled the Nine Tails to attack Konoha. No, the other party seemed to be more terrifying than the masked man. You are from the Uchiha clan, right? But we haven't seen you before. Kushina spoke. Her voice was very weak. At this moment she was already exhausted. The fourth Hokage staggered and hurried to support him. He was not in good condition and was almost at his limit. Once the chakra was exhausted, the invisible god of death behind him would harvest his soul. Kanai said calmly, "Look at your appearance. You are about to die, so don't guess my identity blindly. You can't figure it out, even if you rack your brains. I'm not from the Uchiha clan. In our time, the Uchiha clan had been destroyed. It was ordered to be destroyed by the third Hokage and Anzo. Of course, they also paid a painful price. When they planned to destroy the Uchiha clan, all their clansmen were also destroyed. It can be regarded as a cycle of cause and effect, and retribution is inevitable. There is another point. Fourth Hokage, the Shiki Fujin does not work on everyone." The fourth Hokage was stunned. He was not stupid, on the contrary, he was very smart. It's just that sometimes I trust certain people too much, such as Sarutobi Hiruzen. So you are not from this era, that is to say, you have never been here before, through the dragon vein? After thinking again and again, the fourth Hokage asked in a deep voice, "It seems that you have seen your future son." Kanai said, "Let me tell you, because a naive boy who admires me very much once called me father. It just so happens that I have completely mastered the power of the dragon vein and plan to secretly save my parents without changing history. So I decided to show mercy and save you, but it's a pity that you use the Shikigami Fujin and there is no hope. I can't save your wife. Is that so?" Hearing this, the fourth Hokage actually showed a relieved smile. "It seems that you should be the person that Naruto often mentions. Although the positions are different, it seems that you are really a great ninja. What no one knows is that during the mission to seal the dragon vein, Namake's Minato recognized his son. Although in order not to change history, the memories of Naruto and others were sealed, but his own were well preserved. This is also the main reason why he firmly believes that his newborn son will be able to control the Nine Tails in the future. Don't you want to know what your son will experience in the future?" Kanai frowned. "To be precise, it is what Sarutobi Hiruzen did to your son." "No need. I will watch silently in Naruto's body." The fourth Hokage smiled and shook his head. His eyes turned to Kushina, who was dying in his arms and even couldn't open her eyes. "Next, I will seal my and Kushina's chakras together with the Nine Tails into Naruto's body. It seems that you seem to have a way to cure the Jinchuriki who lost the tailed beast. Kushina is in my hands. The same goes for Naruto. Kuyanai asked the question that he was most concerned about. There is another question. Do you know that, after losing the tailed beast, the Jinchuriki can continue to survive only if he is not dead and reseals the tailed beast in time? Minato was stunned, then shook his head, his face bitter, and smiled sadly. Is that so? Unfortunately, everything is too late. There is no regret medicine in the world. Kushina is in my care. The fourth Hokage said, put Kushina down, performed the 8-diagram seal, and died with a smile. Kuyanai walked to the dying Kushina, picked her up casually, and left a wood-style clone. Performed the impersonation technique. Not long after they left, the third Hokage and others who were entangled by Kuyanai's shadow clone came late. Looking at Naruto in the small altar and the seal on his abdomen, he immediately understood what was going on. At the same time, in the jungle, Kuyanai also revived Kushina. Am I not dead? This was the first sentence Kushina said after her resurrection. Looking at the backs of the third Hokage and others leaving, Kuyanai turned back to look at Kushina. Hey, are you awake? Who are you? Kushina followed Kuyanai's gaze and saw her child, her husband and her own corpse. The voice stopped abruptly. There was a flash of loneliness in her eyes. She was not stupid. From the conversation between her husband and Kuyanai just now, she vaguely heard that the other party seemed to have traveled through time, specially to save her parents and herself. In other words, in the original trajectory, she was already dead. The other party saved herself through the stand-in method without changing history. I thought you would yell. Kuyanai said with some surprise. Let me introduce myself. My name is Kuyanai, Fujiwara Kuyanai. I'm the grown-up child of Fujiwara Ichiro and Fujiwara Shizuka. I'm also a Konoha rebel ninja. Forget it, I can't explain it to you in a few words, so you should see it for yourself. As he spoke, Kuyanai opened the Sharingan and showed her what happened after the Night of the Nine Tails. Of course, it is inevitable that something is distorted. For example, the Sharingan was not swallowed, but was a gift from Fugaku before his death. Chapter 346 The Second Wife. In the golden space, Naruto, who was trying to control the Nine-Tails chakra, finally saw his mother, Uzumaki Kushina. Have you guessed my identity? Kushina looked at her son expectantly and smiled. Facing Kushina's question, Naruto made the same reaction as in the original work, mistaking her for the Nine-Tails. As a result, he was hit hard by Kushina. The mother and son recognized each other. With Kushina's help, Naruto finally defeated the Nine-Tails. At the same time, Naruto finally knew the truth of 16 years ago. When he learned that Kushina might still be alive, he asked excitedly, so, Mom, you are still alive? Kushina said uncertainly, maybe, I can't confirm it. According to the conversation between Minato and the young man at that time, I learned that the young man seemed to have used something called dragon veins to travel to our time. And you seem to have traveled to our time before and met your father. Hearing this, Naruto scratched the back of his head with a confused look on his face. I have seen the dragon vein some time ago. There is indeed a seal left by my father there, but I don't remember seeing him. It should be Minato who didn't want to change history. Kushina looked thoughtful and said, but your father seems to trust him very much. What specific characteristics does he have? Naruto asked anxiously. Knowing that his mother might still be alive, how could he not care? Black hair, white long clothes, and a green hilted katana on his waist. Kushina said this, as if she thought of something, and suddenly said, oh, by the way, he went to save his parents. It seems that, because of a naive boy, he thought of him as his father. He saved me and Minato, but unfortunately Minato had already cast the demonic sealing art at that time, so he couldn't be saved. She sighed lightly, with a sad face. Now it seems that the naive boy should be you. Black hair, white clothes, and a green hilted katana? I thought of him as my father? Naruto listened to these characteristics described by his mother, and recalled in his mind Kuyanai who suddenly appeared in the trip to Kizuna Castle, to capture the monsters left by the Six Paths. In other words, it was Kuyanai who appeared to save his mother at that time. The more Naruto thought about it, the more excited he became. In the end, he couldn't control his emotions and shouted excitedly, "That person is Kanai. It seems that you have a very good relationship." Kushina covered her red lips with her jade hand, and a relieved smile appeared on her face. "Yeah." Naruto nodded heavily. He sat on the ground, supported his hands behind his back, and looked up with his eyes slightly closed. At this moment, he felt that life was more beautiful than ever before. He controlled the Nine Tails, and learned that his mother was saved by Kanai. He still had relatives in this world. The most important thing was that Kanai's parents were also saved. Teacher Kakashi once said that Kanai's brother's defection and the Uchiha clan extermination were just the fuse. Losing his parents at a young age was the most fundamental reason. This is why he cooperated with the masked man and used the great illusion to control everyone on the ground, to create a paradise where there would be no threat to his family. Now that Kanai's mother was saved, maybe he will be able to bring him back to the village. The Kingdom of Wind, the ruins of ancient Laulan, accompanied by a flash of white light, a black monster with wings on its back, and a head that was extremely inconsistent with its body suddenly appeared in the sky. Above the monster's head, there was also a young man and woman standing. The man has a regular face, dark eyebrows, thin lips, and a scholarly air. In addition, he has a slender body and long legs. He is definitely a handsome man. His left hand is around the woman's slender waist, with a knife hanging on his waist, and he is dressed in white, which is extremely simple and elegant. In terms of appearance, it may not be unique, but it is good looking and durable. The outline of the half-profile face seems to be polished by the mountain spring and the stream. If she doesn't look cold and cold, she will be gentle and clear. The woman has a beautiful face, and has very conspicuous long red hair. There is a pure gold ring on the ring finger of her left hand, which reflects a dazzling golden light under the sunlight. But at this moment, she seems to be in a bad mood. The man holds her waist with a look of disgust on his face. They are Kanai and Kushina who have returned to the normal timeline. Finally back. I didn't expect that it would consume the energy of the dragon vein so much. Now I don't know when I can recover. Kanai squatted down and gently stroked Zairoho's head. The latter spat out the snake head, like a pug seeing its master, with an excited face, although it was disgusting. Don't you see how many times you have traveled through time? Kushina showed contempt. It was as if she was looking at a lustful devil. Yes. After Kanai rescued her, the two did not return to the modern era. They began to travel through time hundreds and thousands of times. As far back as the Kaguya period. As recently as the night of genocide. Just to satisfy Kushina to witness Naruto's growth, he traveled through time 7 or 8 times. In total, the time they have been together has exceeded 1 year. Without changing history, Kushina knew about the Six Paths Sage, Uchiha Madara, the first generation of Hokage, and even the identity of the Masked Man. When she knew that the one who killed her husband was the long-dead disciple who did things clumsily and didn't seem very smart, Kushina was shocked. Then she thought of the stone tablet modified by Black Zetsu, Madara who was used, and Madara designed to use a Bato, and she felt relieved. The natives of this ninja world are like this. From the bad guys to the saints, when they feel that a person has a hardship, even if the other party killed his biological parents and his husband, they can forgive him. But forgiving a Bato does not mean that you can forgive Sarutobi Hiruzen. Watching Sarutobi Hiruzen make his son suffer for his own selfish desires, and even the most basic food and clothing cannot be guaranteed. As a mother, don't mention how angry she is. If it weren't for not changing history, and the old guy was exterminated later, she would have the urge to beat him up. Of course, after such a long time, it is inevitable that something happened. After the end of the Fourth Ninja World War, there is nothing fun in this world. So Kanai urgently needs to complete the task. Gain the ability to travel through other worlds. Through traveling, observe the ninjutsu and bloodline of various eras, and improve yourself. At the same time, pursue Kushina crazily. Kushina's impression of Kanai has gone through this is a good child, this is a good friend, this is a good relative, Naruto's godfather. Until a month ago. Finally, it turned into, this is a beast, a sex-hungry ghost. That day, the two of them camped in a hot spring hotel, with only one room and one quilt. In order to prevent Chiya's child from getting cold, Kushina agreed to squeeze in with Chiya. Then it was one step further, and one step further. Then there was nothing else. She was 1 month pregnant. Chapter 347 Mrs. Kushina. Okay, Kushina, don't be angry. You are already an old married couple. Be careful not to get pregnant. Kainai knew that Mrs. Kushina had not yet completely accepted him, but he was not in a hurry. As for women, as long as a child is born, and they have something to worry about, everything will naturally fall into place. The most typical example is Tsunade. The more fierce she was before giving birth, the more honest she was after giving birth, and she was obedient to her husband. A typical example of weak at home, strong outside. This is why Kainai chose a day when he could get her half-hearted after spending a year pursuing her. Who wants to be an old married couple with you? I'm afraid you have deceived many girls with this method. Kushina stared at Kainai. To be honest, she didn't dislike Kainai. Facing such a ninja of the opposite sex who has both strength and appearance, and is very good at teasing, there are almost few people who would not be tempted. Kushina herself is no exception. But she already has a husband and a son. Although she is a widow, the couple has a good relationship. She didn't want to betray her feelings for the fourth Hokage. But this bastard didn't play by the rules. He liked to play half-heartedly. Alas, it's too late to say anything now. Naruto is going to have a brother or sister. How can you say it's a lie? I'm giving a home to those girls who have been devastated by the ninja world. Kainai smiled and hugged Kushina in a princess hug. The latter said coquettishly, "What are you doing?" "Of course I'm going home. By the way, let you gradually meet your sisters. Oh, by the way, one of them is your old acquaintance." After Kainai finished speaking, he used Flying Thunder God to take Kushina and Zohei away. When he appeared again, he had returned to the Hidden Rain village. When Mrs. Mikoto saw this best friend who had passed away for many years, she was shocked. Later, she learned that Kainai saved her through the dragon vein without changing history, and she was relieved. While feeling happy that Kushina was still alive from the bottom of my heart, I couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, Kainai's lustful habit could not be changed. From Tsunade, who was over 50 years old, to Hinata, who was 5 years younger than him, none of them was spared. The same was true for Kushina. Although she had long known that Kainai had secretly saved Mrs. Mikoto. But when she learned that Mrs. Mikoto had become Kainai's woman early and had a daughter, and that this was Fugaku's last wish before his death, her expression was so wonderful. Because she was also entrusted to Kainai by Minato. The only difference is that Minato didn't know that he would be cheated. But Fugaku knew. At noon, Kushina found Kainai. "Kainai, I want to see Obito." "Then what?" Kainai did not show the slightest surprise. "Tell him that all this is a conspiracy of Black Zetsu, and even Uchiha Madara was used." Kushina said seriously. "What happens next?" After that, Kushina was stunned, her face showing a thoughtful look, and then she heard Kainai say, "Then Obito will turn over a new leaf and become a new man?" Without waiting for Kushina to answer, Kainai continued, No, you think too much. Although Obito doesn't know about Black Zetsu's conspiracy, he still knows that he is being used. Then why is he still?" Kushina's face showed doubts. If he knew that he was being used, why did he still work for Uchiha Madara? Kainai smiled and said, "Rather than being used, it is better to say that he is willing to be used, because infinite Tsukuyomi is not only the long-cherished wish of Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu, but also the long-cherished wish of Obito. He wants to create a world with only Rin. Is there really no way to stop this war?" Kushina lowered her head dejectedly. "Of course, I will kill Obito and Black Zetsu right now, and the fourth ninja world war will end." Kushina's eyes lit up when she heard that, and then she heard Kainai say, "But what happens after that? We have lost our common enemy. The countries go their separate ways, and then return to their previous state, engaging in an arms race with each other. Then there will be another war, and it will repeat itself." Kainai's simple words made Kushina confused. She said sadly, "Does it have to go to war?" Kushina's homeland was destroyed by war. Although, after traveling through time, she learned that this was secretly done by the 5 major countries, including Konoha. But she really didn't want to see people like her appear again and become homeless. "Okay, don't think too much." Kainai came forward, put his arm around Kushina's shoulders, and sat on the sofa, saying, although death is inevitable in this war, it is not as terrible as you think. When the war is over, everything will be fine. But Naruto. Kushina was still a little worried. You can rest assured about this. Everyone will die, but Naruto will not. You must not have forgotten that Naruto is the reincarnation of Ashura, the son of the contemporary Six Paths sage. The old man Six Paths is watching behind him. But I'm still a little worried. Can I go see him? Kushina showed a pitiful expression. Kainai was stunned. Good guy, love is waiting for me here. It's not okay to take you to see him, unless... Kainai whispered a few words to Kushina's ear, and the latter's blush climbed from the neck to the top of the head at a speed visible to the naked eye. Although she has been a wife for a long time, it is too much to use such a thing. Can you change the conditions? Kushina said hesitantly. Of course, you can. Kainai whispered a few more words. Kushina was embarrassed and annoyed after listening. In the end, in order to see her eldest son, she agreed to Kainai's first condition. She lowered her head silently. As for the second condition, sorry, it's not as good as the first one. An air cannon shaped like a tiger suddenly appeared outside Turtle Island, and the shockwave caused the huge Turtle Island, which was several kilometers in radius, to tremble violently. The white long clothes swayed, and a strand of long hair hanging on the cheek fluttered in the wind. Is this Day Tiger? Kainai saw this spectacle as soon as he arrived at Turtle Island. He said with some surprise, it seems that Kisame has been defeated. A ninja who absorbs chakra to grow. His weapon Samehada betrayed him, and he encountered a pure physical attack. It's really tragic. This is the best model worker of Akatsuki organization. At this time, a burst of hurried footsteps came from the opposite direction of the shockwave. At the same time, there was a familiar voice. Quick, chase him. Don't let that Akatsuki member run away. Once the information is leaked, the consequences will be disastrous. There are really many old acquaintances. Looking back, I saw Yamashiro Aoba, Naruto, Yamato, Killer Bee, and a supporting role Cloud Ninja. That Kainai didn't know rushed over quickly. There are people ahead. They also spotted Kainai and stopped 30 meters away. Chapter 348 Naruto recognizes his father. The supporting Cloud Ninja standing next to Killer Bee is a perception type ninja. He reminded, this person seems to have appeared suddenly. Until now, I have not sensed his chakra. Because Kainai changed his clothes and hairstyle, Yamashiro Aoba did not recognize him at the first time. Looking at the familiar white back in front of him, he stepped forward and asked in a deep voice, who are you? Why are you here? Long time no see. Senior Yamashiro Aoba, Senior Yamato, and Naruto, Eight Tails Killer Bee, and the supporting role of Kumogakure. Kainai turned around and looked at the five people with a smile. You are. The pupils of Yamashiro Chiya and Yamato suddenly shrank, and they immediately protected Naruto. Yamato performed would release to restrain Kainai. Yamashiro pointed at the Kune, took a defensive posture, and reminded sternly, everyone be careful, this person is Fujiwara Chiya of the Akatsuki organization. It's him. Killer Bee recalled the last time, the Battle of Yunlei Gorge, when Kainai let him go. At the same time, when teaching Naruto to control the Nine Tails, he exchanged fists and learned about Chiya from Naruto's heart. The supporting Kumo ninja was frightened and broke out in a cold sweat. Is this person Fujiwara Chiya? The guy who easily defeated Lord Drakeage? Deru and Z was identified by the five great nations as a vicious criminal equivalent to Uchiha Madara. Can the party really defeat such an existence? As for Naruto, he fell into the scene of memories with his mother Kushina. At the same time, he was also in the memory of the Ninetales whose chakra had just been extracted from his body. It turned out to be him. This world is really amazing. I didn't expect that the kid who invited Naruto to eat ramen would grow to this point. Just as he was about to speak, a loud and deep voice suddenly sounded. Take my move and activate the Konoha Diamond Force Cyclone. Might Guy was stained with blue steam and threw the defeated Kisame to the ground, and the latter fell to the ground. He looked at Kainai with a depressed look, muttering in his heart, is it Mr. Kainai? Might Guy himself attached blue chakra to his feet and kicked Kainai's back in the air with amazing speed and strength. Kainai smiled, but did not stop him. As he approached, an invisible white energy shield appeared out of thin air and then spread. The wood escape technique collapsed, and Gay screamed, and the whole person was thrown back and exploded more than 10 meters. Before he fell to the ground, Kainai's voice came out slowly. The 61st binding path. 6 starflight prison. 6 pieces of light gathered and locked Might Guy's figure tightly, trapping him in mid-air, unable to move. In order to prevent Gay from opening the 8th door, Kainai stretched his right hand back and pointed his index finger at the void. The 4th breaking path. White thunder. Or thunder was released from his fingertips, and Might Guy screamed again, and his kidney was pierced for the 3rd time, and his body instantly fell into paralysis. Yamashiro Aoba, Yamato, and the supporting Kumo ninja were shocked and rushed towards Kainai. Without a doubt, they followed K's fate, and were fixed in the air by the 6 stick-light prison. I didn't expect Fujiwara Chiya to be so strong. The supporting Kumo ninja was desperate and shouted urgently, "B, take Naruto away, and go find Reikid-sama." Killer B and Naruto did not take any action, and did not even have the intention to fight. They just looked at Kainai on the opposite side quietly. "Can we finally have a good talk? Naruto, come with me." Kainai walked to Kisame's side, put him into the system warehouse, and then walked out of Kame Island. Naruto and Killer B looked at each other, and the latter gave him a thumbs up, then followed him. "Hey, Mr. B, it's okay for Naruto to make trouble, but how can you let Naruto go with Kainai? That guy's target is the tailed beast." Yamashiro Aoba shouted anxiously. Killer B pulled out the blade from behind and glared at Yamashiro Aoba. He rarely sang, danced or rapped, but said seriously, "Don't make a scene. How do you know that guy is here to catch us? With that guy's strength, you should trust your companion, Naruto." As he spoke, Killer B used the supersonic thunder blade, endowed the blade with thunder attribute chakra, and slashed at the 6-stick light prison light sheet that trapped the cloud-hidden dragon set. Clang. The blade broke, was bounced, rotated half a circle in the air, and finally stuck in the ground. There was still an arc of electricity flashing on the broken blade. Killer B glanced at the broken blade and murmured, "It seems that it does not have the ability to absorb chakra, but what kind of ninjutsu is this? Even the supersonic thunder blade can't cut it." Kainai took Naruto away from the sight of Killer B and others, and then used the flying thunder god to return to the hidden rain village to pick up Kushina. Now Kushina is pregnant with his child. Excluding the time when he defected from Konoha, he had to do it. He couldn't bear to let his wife and children be locked up in such a dark place. When Naruto and Kushina met, there was no lack of motherly love and filial piety. The mother and son hugged each other in tears, and began to confide in each other. From Kushina, Naruto learned that his mother had been paying attention to him secretly all these years. But when Kushina wanted to tell Naruto the truth, Kainai stopped her. "Kushina, don't say what you shouldn't say." But Kushina was in a dilemma. On one side was her eldest son, and on the other was the father of her unborn child. She really didn't want to see the day when the two would meet on the battlefield. Kainai didn't give Kushina a chance to refuse. He stepped forward and put one arm around her shoulders, holding her soft hands with the other, and said to Naruto with a smile, "Naruto, your mother just said that, although it has been less than half a month since the last meeting, but I have been traveling in the time and space of the ninja world with her for more than a year. Your father, the 4th Hokage, has died and entrusted your mother to me. Kushina and I are alone together for so long that something is bound to happen." Naruto was stunned. What happened? Then he reacted, with a flash of surprise in his eyes. "Could it be that you and my mother?" "Yes, Kushina and I are already together, and your mother is pregnant with a child for me. You are going to be a brother," Kainai said to Naruto with a smile, and couldn't help but marvel at Naruto's brain circuit. If it were Nezuzi, knowing that he had cheated on his father, he would have taken a knife to chop him. Naruto heard this, and laughed with relief. Then he wiped his tears, crying and laughing, crying tears of joy. He was so happy that he was no longer alone. Not only did his mother survive, but he was also going to be a brother, and the elder brother Kainai, who he had been searching for, seemed to have figured it out. Kushina thought Naruto was blaming her, and said with some concern, "Naruto, P.S. Please recommend, please vote, please subscribe." Chapter 349 Before the War. It's okay, Mom. I'm just very happy. Naruto wiped his tears. His slightly reddish blue eyes looked seriously at Kanai, whom he regarded as his father. Scratching the back of his head, he asked a little embarrassedly, well, should I continue to call you Kanai brother, or dad? After saying that, Naruto showed an expectant look. Kanai was the first person who recognized him, and gave him the warmth in his heart. If possible, he hoped that Kanai would be his father like Iruka in the original book. Ahem. Kanai's old face turned red, cleared his throat, and said seriously, for the time being, call me like before. It's true that he wanted Nisuzi to call him dad, because he knew that Nisuzi didn't want to, but when someone who was not his own child came out and called him dad, he was not used to it. Is that so? Hearing this, a hint of disappointment flashed across his eyes, and then Kanai said, oh, by the way, there is one more thing I can tell you. What is it? Actually, you and Sasuke are brothers. Brothers? Yes, brothers. And they are half brothers. Kanai looked more serious than ever. In Kushina's reproachful eyes, Kanai suppressed a smile and said, when the Uchiha clan was exterminated, I not only saved Kwan, but also Sasuke's mother, your mother's best friend, Mrs. Makoto. She also gave birth to a daughter for me. Now she is 7 years old. Naruto was shocked at first, and then ecstatic. With a very fresh mind, he subconsciously thought that he seemed to be one step closer to getting Sasuke back. Then he asked with a smile, it seems that Sasuke should be able to be brought back next time, but brother Kanai, you should quit Akatsuki, right? As soon as these words came out, the scene suddenly became quiet. Kushina showed a worried look, looked at Naruto's eyes, and hesitated. Naruto, in fact, your uncle Kanai. Okay, Kushina, don't say what you shouldn't say. Kanai interrupted Kushina's words. Naruto, my philosophy will not change. The ninja system is the cancer of this world, and I will definitely destroy it. Naruto's heart trembled, and his face was full of sorrow in an instant. This was the result he was most reluctant to face. But Kanai's next sentence made him overjoyed. But for Kushina's sake, I can give you a chance. Before your war with Madara is over, I will not intervene. I will only be a bystander. If you can win this war, then I will quit Akatsuki. On the contrary, I will use my own method to end this chaos that has lasted for thousands of years. Kushina heard this, and a warm current instantly flowed through her heart. But if she knew that Kanai had promised Tsunade before her, she probably wouldn't be so moved. Because Kanai had no intention of helping Obito. Whether it was Obito or Uchiha Madara, they were just his toys. The 6 pieces of light disappeared, and Might Guy, Yamato, Yamashiro Aoba, and the Kyuubi extras fell to the ground. Gay Yamato hurried forward, checked, and instantly wanted to cry. Although there was no danger to his life. But my goodness. Kanai stabbed K in the waist. Doesn't he know that our Might Guy is only the size of an acorn? The technique has been released, and it seems that Naruto is finished. Killer Bee helped up his Kyuubi companion beside him, and his eyes never moved away from the direction Naruto left from beginning to end. As a Jinchuriki, he also has perception. Although he couldn't hear Kanai's conversation with Naruto, he could feel Naruto's chakra. Just now, he felt another chakra similar to Naruto's, and then disappeared, leaving only Naruto. After a while, Naruto returned. How is it, Naruto? Are you okay? Fujiwara Chiya didn't make things difficult for you. Yamato and Yamashiro Chiya went to meet him at the first time. Might Guy suffered another critical hit and was put down by Yamato. He lay on the ground with convulsions. Don't worry, brother Chiya won't hurt me. Naruto approached Killer Bee with a relieved and excited smile on his face. The two of them bumped fists and communicated in the unique way of Jinchuriki. Upon learning that Chiya had become Naruto's father, Killer Bee's eyes covered by sunglasses were slightly surprised. Then he learned that Chiya would not interfere in their war with the Masked Man, so he gave Naruto a thumbs up and sang and danced. Well done, Naruto. In Killer Bee's heart, the Eight Tails said in a voice that only Naruto and Killer Bee could hear, it seems that you are lucky this time, Naruto of course. Naruto smiled happily in return. Yamato didn't know what happened between Naruto and Chiya. After seeing Killer Bee fist bumping with Naruto, he was so happy that he was even more angry than the other two. He covered his head and said dissatisfiedly, "You two are really enough. Don't bully others like this. It's nothing." Naruto's smile faded, and his eyes looked towards the direction outside Kame Island. "It's just that many things are different. Everything is moving in a good direction. Thank you, mother and brother Chiya." Naruto was grateful in his heart. "It's like this again." Yamato wrote the word dissatisfaction on his face and looked at my guy. "Speaking of which, the information scroll you took back should still be there. Gay. Here." Might Guy weakly took out the information scroll made by Kisame from his ninja tool bag and then fell into a coma again. Yamashiro Aoba picked up the scroll and said with some concern, although the scroll was taken back, Kisame was rescued, which lost its meaning. "Don't worry. The shark monster will not be leaked." Killer Bee sang and danced. "If you want to ask why, it's because Kai and I will not hand him over to the masked man." "Oh yeah. Uncle B is right." Naruto echoed on the side. He actually imitated Killer Bee singing and dancing. Yamato, Yamashiro Aoba, and Kyuubi Dragon Set had black lines on their faces. Yamashiro Aoba couldn't stand this atmosphere and changed the subject. "In this case, why don't we take a look at what is written in the scroll?" Hearing this, everyone looked at each other and nodded, and under the curious eyes of Naruto, Killer Bee, Yamato, and Kyuubi Dragon Set, Yamashiro Aoba opened the scroll, and as in the original work, he fell into the water prison trap left by Kisame. The information was finally leaked. Kyuubi Village. Allied Forces Headquarters. Reikage Office Building. The 5 cages of fire, wind, earth, water, and lightning gathered, and Mifune, the general of the Iron Country, also joined in. The 6 people sat around the round conference room table. At this time, the Allied Forces headquarters had received news of the leak of Kamejima's intelligence. I didn't expect that at this point, the intelligence would be leaked, and we also encountered that difficult guy Fujiwara Chiya. It's really a troubled time. Sachika Jinoki looked a little ugly. This is a blessing in disguise. Gaara held his chin with both hands. Without the participation of Fujiwara Chiya, the coalition can increase its chances of winning by at least 30%. You are still too young, Kazukichi. Chiya's appearance appeared in Inoki's mind, and he said in a deep voice, "Although I admire the friendship between you young people, but that young man is not as simple as you think. It is impossible to be persuaded by a few words or someone. In him, I see the shadow of Uchiha Madara when he was young. He will never stop here. Don't forget his original words. He will only stop if we defeat the masked man. In other words, once our coalition fails, no one knows what extreme measures he will take. There is one more point." Inoki glanced around. "Who of you can guarantee that he has been persuaded by Naruto and really changed his mind, or just like in the 5-cage summit, let us and Akatsuki suffer losses, and then he will reap the benefits?" The scene suddenly became quiet. Gaara suddenly spoke and said in a deep voice, "But we have no choice, right?" "You are right. Compared with facing either Madara or Fujiwara Chiya alone, it is indeed much better than facing both of them at the same time." Sachika's side, the worst case scenario is that Madara and Fujiwara Chiya are not as harmonious as imagined. "So, what are you going to do?" Tsunade's eyes swept to Inoki. "Kamejima has been exposed. Even if Chiya doesn't take action, Madara will take action after receiving the information." She did not excuse Chiya, because Chiya really thought, as Inoki said, if the coalition won, it would be fine. If not, or if there is a stalemate, Chiya may really take action. "I will go in person." Inoki stood up proudly. The Hidden Rain Village. After Chiya settled Mrs. Kushina, he came to the base of Sasori and Kakuzu and released Kisame. It seems that this should be the last living combat force in the Akatsuki organization, except you and Afei. Kakuzu looked at Kisame's weak appearance and couldn't help saying, "Once upon a time, the Akatsuki organization was so powerful in the ninja world. It was extremely powerful, but now it has fallen to this state." "Not entirely. There is also Deidara who has gone to practice somewhere, saying that he wants to find a way to overcome his weaknesses." Kainai did not spend chakra to treat Kisame, but directly stuffed a senzu bean. Kisame's eyelids twitched, and he slowly woke up. Kainai, Sasori, Kakuzu, and the ninja pig hidden who was sleeping soundly behind Kakuzu came into view. "Am I dead?" Kisame said faintly. you're awake. The operation was successful. Congratulations on becoming a girl. Kanai said playfully. It seems that I'm still alive. You really like to joke as always. Mr. Kanai. Kisame stood up and turned his eyes to Scorpion, Kakuzu, Hidden and the pig. Kakuzu, I didn't expect to see you again. It seems that you were secretly saved by Mr. Kanai like me. That one over there should be Scorpion. I didn't expect that you, who have been hiding in a puppet for so many years, would be so young. Kakuzu nodded. Yeah. Scorpion said indifferently, I'm a puppet body, and my appearance will not change. I see. Then who is the human-headed pig over there? Kisame recognized Hidden, but still teased him. This annoyed Hidden. He was sleeping soundly just now, but veins on his forehead bulged. He leaped and flew towards Kisame to bite him. However, Kisame, who had returned to his peak, easily dodged him and hit his head against the wall. He felt dizzy and saw stars. Okay, Kisame, don't bully Hidden. He's already miserable enough. Kanai said, the war is about to start. What are you going to do next? I have conveyed the intelligence, and I have done what I should do. Next, I want to see the world that Mr. Madara mentioned. Kisame laughed at himself, but now it seems that it won't work. You seem to have other plans. Otherwise you wouldn't have saved several of us Akatsuki members who should have died. What about Mr. Itachi? Is he involved? Kisame looked around, but didn't see Itachi. No, he can't betray Konoha. You should know this. Kanai shook his head. In the next period of time, you should have a good rest here for a while. I will notify you separately when I need you. Can you tell me your plan? Kisame's smile disappeared, and he asked solemnly. Hearing this, Scorpion, Kakuzu and even Hidden all cast curious glances. Kanai smiled slightly. The most important thing at the moment is to wait and see. Mountain Cemetery. Just like in the original novel, after the information about Kisame was delivered, Kabuto went to Kame Island and captured Yamato. However, because Deidara was not dead, he brought the second generation Tsuchikage who also had the ability to fly. You brought the wrong trophy. I want the Nine Tails. Obito looked at Yamato who was bound by the snake and said indifferently. At this time, Obito had changed into a dark blue robe, carrying an Uchiha fan, wearing a white mask with 3 Magatama Samsara eyes, a Samsara eye in the left eye, and a Sharingan in the right eye. It was full of oppression. After transplanting the Samsara eye, he was full of confidence. It looked like the sky was clear, the rain stopped, and the second pillar felt that he was fine again. Don't worry, this is the guardian of the Nine Tails. As long as we catch him, we can get more information. Moreover, here's a copy of the first generation Hokage. With him, we can greatly strengthen the Zetsu. After Kabuto finished speaking, a touch of surprise flashed through his heart. From Yamato, he learned that Chiya had been to Kame Island. And it seems to convey the message that he does not intend to interfere in the war between the coalition forces and the masked man. Are you planning to reap the benefits? Then hurry up. My left eye can't wait to start the war. Obito said sinisterly. Of course. But then again, the war is about to start. Do you have any news about Master Chiya? He is a powerful force that is indispensable in this war. Kabuto asked tentatively. I guess he wants to reap the benefits. Obito had the same idea as Kabuto in his mind. You really underestimate me. As long as I become the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, then by then, neither you nor Madara will be my opponent. Thinking of this, Obito turned around with his back to Zetsu. Who knows? That guy always acts like this. He has several plans to capture the 8 Tails and the 9 Tails, but he failed time and time again. But it doesn't matter. It's good for him to join the war, but it doesn't matter if he doesn't. Our current combat power is enough. And even if Kanai doesn't show up, his amazing performance at the 5-Cage Summit alone can also tie down a large number of the coalition's combat power. Chapter 350. Taste the taste. The X marks the enemy's lair. It is called the Mountain Cemetery. According to the intelligence obtained by the reconnaissance team, the number of enemies is about 100,000. In the Hidden Cloud Village, at the headquarters of the Allied forces, the Iron Country General Mifune pointed to the map on the conference table and was summarizing the intelligence. The 5 Cages also issued combat orders to their subordinates in turn. Considering the movement of the large forces, only a few of them will take the sea route, and they are afraid of being surrounded. In this case, it depends on who will strike first. That Sachikage, who had just returned from Kame Island, said in a deep voice. Victory will definitely belong to our ninja coalition. The Raikage was full of confidence. That's right. The Wind Cage Gaara nodded in agreement. The Hokage Tsunade and the Mizukage looked at each other. They both saw a hint of worry in each other's eyes. If it was just Uchiha Madara, they would naturally not have such a reaction. Even if they knew they were no match for the enemy, they would do their best to protect the village behind them, and would not fear death. But now there is Chiya. While the two girls were thinking, Gaara took out a forehead protector engraved with the word ninja, and looked at Inoki. It's Sachikage. I finished this while you were away. Oh, is it done? Inoki showed a look of surprise, looking at the forehead protector and chuckled. Is this the forehead protector for the Shinobi Alliance? It looks pretty good. I designed this. Everyone who used to argue with each other has finally united into one ninja. Mifune stood up with a smile. Not only that, the samurai will also unite with the ninja. This historic moment has finally arrived. Yes. The five shadows stood up and walked out together to look outside. The war kicked off. The Hokage and the Raikage were responsible for sitting in the headquarters. The Kazekage served as the captain of the coalition and led the main force to fight against Akatsuki. That Sachikage accompanied him secretly, responsible for keeping an eye on the second generation Sachikage who had the bloodline elimination dust release, and Chiya who also had the bloodline elimination dust release. If there were no Sachikage to hold them back, with just these two people's dust release, no matter how many of the coalition troops came, how many would die. As for the Mizukage, she needed to protect the daimyo, to prevent Akatsuki from taking her hostage. Mountain Cemetery. In an empty cave. This moment has finally come. Kabuto and Obito looked at each other and put their hands together. Summoning technique, impure world reincarnation. Hundreds of coffins rose from the ground and opened, revealing corpses with cracks on their surfaces. First, the former Akatsuki member, Uchiha Itachi. Then the former Jinchuriki, three-tailed Yagura, four-tailed old Murasaki, five-tailed Han, six-tailed Bubble, eight-tailed Burubi. And the former 5-Kage, the second Sachikage, the second Mizukage, and the third Raikage. Iwagakure's explosive shield hunter, Salamander Hanzo, and the Kaguya clan's Kimimaro. Konoha's Dan, Hyuga Hisashi, the Golden Horn and Silver Horn, who are revered as two rays of light in the cloud in Kyuubi, and other top masters. Not only that, there are also Yamato who use the cells of the first generation to replicate, and 100,000 white Zetsu who were strengthened by the famous ninjas of successive generations. It's really spectacular. Kabuto's long golden eyes swept through the coffins one by one behind the lens, introducing his own combat power to Obito. It seems to be a lot less than expected. Obito narrowed his eyes and stared at Kabuto. Because he didn't see any other Akatsuki members who died except Itachi. Kabuto adjusted the frame of his glasses. That's true, but the impure world reincarnation requires the intelligence material of the deceased, that is, part of the flesh. Finding corpses is a very difficult task. For example, the bodies of the Uchiha clan members who died on the night of the genocide and before were not found. Especially Uchiha Shisu's, it seems that they have been dealt with by Konoha or someone else. If they can be found. Kabuto's simple words directly dispelled Obito's doubts, but also annoyed him. He nodded slightly, his face terribly gloomy. Don't push your luck. Kabuto's face showed a sinister smile that was very different from Orochimaru's. There was no argument. Forget it, these chess pieces are enough. Anyway, I still have an absolute trump card. The so-called trump card, naturally, refers to Uchiha Madara. Then let's go. Obito heard this. A hint of solemn fear flashed across his eyes. Zetsu here. Zetsu crawled out of the ground. Obito continued. White Zetsu stays here to continue monitoring Sasuke. Black Zetsu acts according to the original plan and arrests the daimyo of the 5 major countries. Let the ninja coalition be cautious. After saying that, Obito turned and walked out of the cave. Kabuto smiled sinisterly and followed closely behind him. Because of the absence of the 4th Kazekage, Kabuto no longer targeted the 8 tails and the 9 tails. Uchiha Itachi replaced Rasa and went to the main battlefield with the second Tsuchikage, the second Mizukage, and the third Reikage. The fourth Ninja World War thus kicked off. The eve of the war. The Allied Forces headquarters. In the evening, the sun set, and a hint of fish belly white appeared in the sky. Meditarumi had just finished a day of combat meetings, and returned to the hidden cloud village, to prepare a place for her to live. Entering the entrance hall, before she could turn on the lights, she saw a pair of men's cloth boots that she had never seen before. Meditarumi was startled suddenly, but after smelling the fragrance of food wafting from the living room, she quickly relaxed. The joy in her eyes flashed away. She took a deep breath, took off her special high-heeled ninja boots, and walked into the house. "When did you come?" Meditarumi walked to the dining table, sat down, and put a piece of food into her mouth. "I just came here not long ago, and I saw that you had some food in the refrigerator, so I made a meal." Kainai, wearing an apron, walked out of the kitchen with a plate of food, put it down, and served Meditarumi a bowl of rice. "Speaking of which, it's been a long time since we last did this. It's been a long time. Ever since Akatsuki started to capture the tailed beasts, you haven't been to my place." Meditarumi took the rice and took a big bite. Then, as if she thought of something, she suddenly put down her bowl and chopsticks. "What's wrong? Why don't you eat?" Kainai also served himself a bowl. With his god-level cooking skills, he was very confident in the dishes he cooked. "There's no rush to eat later." Meditarumi stood up. "Let me ask you, what is your purpose this time? I thought you would fight with me as soon as you came up like last time, and then I would be subdued in an instant, go into the room, and sleep until dawn." Kainai smiled somewhat unexpectedly. Meditarumi blushed. She hadn't eaten meat at Kainai's place for more than half a year, and she was getting a taste for it, but that was not the point. "Answer me," Meditarumi said coquettishly. Kainai smiled happily, and like a husband, he picked up some food for Meditarumi. "What other purpose could it be? Of course I came back to see you. The enemies you are going to face in this war are not trivial. I must leave some backup plans for you, so that I can save you at the critical moment. But in this case, it means that you have lost the qualification to participate in this war. P.S. Please give me a monthly ticket." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.